Well, very fitting weather on this Tuesday morning to what we continue to have to witness with the NBA team in town here as the Pacers lose their 8th straight last night. 9 o'clock today for Rick Carlisle, late night traveling back from Detroit. To the Pacers head coach will join us at 9. NFL draft analyst, that would be Dane Brugler. Always enjoy his insights, and honestly, we might have an Indiana and potentially a Notre Dame player go quite early coming up in April, so a typical bye week for us. We tend to talk a little NFL draft, even with the Colts not having a first-round pick in either of the next 2 years. We'll do that coming up at 8:30. Gentlemen, good morning to you. It's the same trio as yesterday. Hopefully Jeff Rickard will be back mañana. James Boyd, Mark Dykton, good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I watched that Pacers game last night, Kevin, and it was painful to watch throughout. Another 15-point loss. I believe it's their 6th straight 15-point loss for this team, and this was without the Pistons playing Cade Cunningham. So not a good night for the Sirs.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I know I had a glimmer of hope at about 6:59, and then that was quickly erased, probably. And I'm always thinking, there is part of me that's thinking that Jeremiah Johnson right now, they don't go to him very much. The old halftime interviews, the old end-of-game interviews. JJ, he's wearing these beautiful suits. He provides great insight, pregame, postgame, I guess, a couple timeouts during the game, but I did think about him. And honestly, on the morning commute, and Mark, you can certainly relate. James, I think you can relate a little bit as well. Last night was one of those nights where Nellie Bowen decided to see every hour of the night. So as I'm sitting there rocking her seemingly at 3:47 a.m. and 4:32 a.m., and I'm like, at this point, should I just stay up? The morning commute was me thinking back to when Rosie, my oldest, first slept through the night. Mark Dykton, can you think of when your first child slept through the night? Or, when you say slept through the night, whatever, gave you a 6-hour chunk?
Boy, I don't remember off the top of my head. Because I think I probably went into a mini coma when that happened, because I'm like, oh, boy.
Does it feel longer? Does 6 hours feel like 10?
Well, I thought the power went out of the house when Rosie first slept through the night. That was my memory. And the reason why I bring that up, because I'm driving this morning on the morning commute and trying to think to myself, how many more weeks do I have to go? I mean, Ellie's 10 days old. I'm not going to act like she's sleeping through the night tomorrow. But I'm thinking to myself, okay, when was that? The night that she did was when TJ Warren went off in the bubble. James Boyd, can you picture where you were when TJ Warren had his bubble 50 burger?
I had you working in the region. Yeah, because that was
like our first big sporting event of COVID, remember?
Well, that was probably at home with no haircut and no kids, so I can't relate.
See, I didn't have any sports memories that happened the night that my kids slept through the night.
I know Maddie would probably be appalled that that's how I correlate when Rosie first slept through the night. But she was about 6 weeks old, so I've got a long ways to go, was my other reminder. And then I also had to remind myself, boy, those memories from the Pacers seem fleeting. And right now, how much would you take a TJ Warren 50 burger in the bubble right now?
Yeah.
And does it have to be in the bubble? Do we have to go back to those times?
Now that you say that, I probably shouldn't even bring up COVID.
Yeah, I mean, these are tough times for this team. And again, we saw, and it was late in the game, Rick Carlisle takes the technical foul timeout just to get the subs in, and they get the extra point or whatever. And at that point, you're just thinking, well, this is par for the course for this team.
8 in a row. I believe that's now 6 by 15 points or more. It was a wild stat that I saw Tony East threw out there last night. Until last night's fourth quarter, and shout out Benedict Mathurin for getting on one of those heaters there in the fourth quarter I don't think the Pacers really made it interesting, but they got it one step away from interesting.
Yes.
Is probably the best way to put it.
It cut to 11 at one point, I think.
I was going to say, it never got to single digits, did it? It got to one of those where it's like everyone's kind of looking to see if J.B. Bickerstaff's going to take a timeout, and he never had to, I think, take the timeout.
Also, Jalen Duren. My goodness, that kid is amazing now.
At times, I thought it was Shaq, frankly,
I was like, we need to see a Pacers player take a leap like that.
But the wild stat that Tony East threw out there was, until last night's fourth quarter, Pacers finally ended it, they had been outscored in 21 straight quarters.
That is crazy to me.
James Boyd, you've covered the NBA.
Yes, I have.
That doesn't happen. I mean, you get one, again, you have one player that has a Mathurin heater in any quarter, and seemingly you win that quarter, 28-26.
Yeah.
Something like that. And the Pacers have been outscored in 21 consecutive quarters. It had gone back to Denver, which was the start of the West Coast trip, I think it was. Maybe the second game of the West Coast trip. The second quarter of that game. Just another of the litany of stats you can point to right now with the Pacers.
Absolutely. And I feel like, to pivot a little bit, we did get to talk to Shane Steichen yesterday, kind of get back on track with a Colts game week. What'd you think of how, I don't know, cautious he was about Charvarius Ward, Kevin? Because we did ask about, okay, updates with DeForest Buckner. I got nothing for you. Okay, he can't play this week anyways. Charvarius Ward can. Anthony Richardson technically can if he comes off IR. But when Shane said, I should have a little bit more, I'm paraphrasing here, Wednesday on Mooney, I was thinking Mooney Ward, Charvarius Ward should be making his return. So that to me was at least a little positive Indiana sports news from yesterday, as opposed to kind of sitting there and forcing myself to keep my eyes open for the Pacers.
I've said this before about Shane Steichen. He answers questions, particularly about injuries, with the amount of vagueness of me responding to my parents asking me, "How was your day?"
So you're not drinking the Kool-Aid I'm trying to pour a little bit?
No. I mean, you do have to play this game. I mean, we did it with the quarterback decision back in the spring, or back in the summer, I should say. Like, I remember looking at you several times being like, I think Shane is saying this.
Yeah.
Is he saying this, though? Like,
yeah.
I do struggle with that. And I do think there's a couple things you can parse out. You really have got to get in the weeds, though, to try and read something into him from yesterday. So we'll certainly hit on those, 2-3 injury news items as well as we start to transition into Colts and Chiefs. Lou Anarumo's success against Patrick Mahomes will definitely be a storyline this week. I want to get a little bit more into that. So again, we'll talk Dane Brugler, not necessarily Colts draft, but more, is Fernando Mendoza truly the top quarterback in this draft class? Where could Jeremiah Love go? We did see
another guy I'm thinking of, Elijah Surratt. I'm like, okay, I think he's made himself some money
I want to
this
ask
year.
about the other Indiana guys too.
For sure.
Like, is there anybody else? Honestly, I think Omar Cooper Jr. possesses some like baby Deebo Samuel traits.
I think he's boosted his stock for sure this year.
And it's not just the catch. Like, if you watch him, I mean, there's a lot of yak that he brings to the table and everything. So he'll join us coming up at 8:30. Last night, Monday Night Football, Dak Prescott 4 touchdowns, and the Cowboys all over the Vegas Raiders in that one. We did get an onside punt. I think that might have been the highlight of the game for me.
God bless you, because I turned it on after the first half. I was like, I can't stick through this.
Did you go more Pacers or more Monday Night Football?
I want more Pacers because I feel like that's in our market, and I was like, well, I've seen this movie with the Raiders before. My dad's a big Raiders fan, so I talk to him every week about the Raiders losing, so nothing new.
Is he just beside himself?
No, my dad is a pretty realistic fan. He's just, his approach whenever they stink, and they stink pretty much every year, he's just like, well, we'll get a top pick and draft us another quarterback or something like that. Like, well,
or it's like a wide receiver randomly.
Yeah, but he is also like, well, there's a reason why I can only name a few players on this team because there's only a few players that's worth anything. So he's a big Max Crosby guy. The rest, not so much.
And Crosby tried to do his part early in that game.
He did. But as we've seen, Myles Garrett is having one of the greatest defensive seasons ever through, 10, 11 games, and it means nothing because his team is terrible.
Indiana officially announces, if you will, I should say officially promotes the Fernando Mendoza Heisman campaign. I think you see this with some teams. They're always kind of nervous exactly when to publicly go all out with, their video and their social post. And Mendoza went on with McAfee yesterday, and they released this video where, I think we're all used to it at this point with Fernando Mendoza. He's one of the more joyful individuals I think I've ever heard from a sporting standpoint. It was like a Google, LinkedIn-centric
I did see
Heisman campaign that they released. And honestly, so much of it could just come down to 2 weeks from Saturday. Julian Sayin will get one more stage with Ohio State, Michigan, the Ohio State quarterback. But, as wild as it sounds, conference championship games have lost its luster. Like, don't tell that to Indiana fans because when they have never played in the game, they're going to want to treat it, and understandably, like it's a massive deal. But just with a 12-team playoff, the games have lost its luster. Like, Oregon, Penn State last year in the Big Ten title game, it just didn't really mean too much. Both teams end up getting a bye there. That's what will happen with Indiana and Ohio State coming up. But honestly, the winner will probably get the 1 seed. Not that the 1 seed versus the 2 seed matters that much, but the winner, I assume, will be the Heisman Trophy winner. I think that's kind of how things are trending right now with Alabama losing and Ty Simpson losing. So Indiana released that yesterday. We'll get another iteration of the college football polls coming up tonight. It's the Champions Classic sandwiched around the college football playoff poll. So 8:30 tonight for that. I want to say the first game is Michigan State, Kentucky. Second game is Kansas, Duke. Didn't that thing used to be in Indiana a couple times?
I think so. I feel like every major basketball sporting event was at some point in Indiana, though. Especially college basketball.
Well, and this year we got it all. I mean, this year we got the Final Four and D2 and D3 and NIT, and
I will be in heaven.
I think it's Big Ten women's as well. So we will hit on all of that. Reminder again, Rick Carlisle coming up at 9 o'clock today as they travel back. If you want to look for a Pacer win on the horizon, honestly, we probably should just say a single-digit result. Boy, is it tomorrow against Charlotte?
I would think so.
At Cleveland and then Detroit again after that. And you know, the thing that I had a glimmer of hope about last night, James, is, I mean, Detroit was down 3 of their top 4 scorers.
I know. And it just, again, you sit there, you watch, it's pretty close, and then you blink and they're up 20.
That's so true. Yeah, and it's usually the Pacers, you know, that could go on those huge runs here in recent years.
Times
but now
have
it
changed,
seemingly
brother.
has happened against them. I did think Benedict Mathurin, again, he struggled early, definitely some rust, but the fact that he played 25 minutes, I think is a good sign.
Yeah, I think he finished with about 25 points, too.
Yeah, and he got on a huge flurry there in the second half as he tried to get you back in the game. A lot of NFL items to get to that have some Colts relation to it. We'll hit that as well on this Tuesday morning. It is rainy. It is ugly. Good luck on your morning commute in. Kevin Bowe and James Boyd, Mark Dykton on a Tuesday. Even though Detroit down 3 of their top 4 scores last night, it didn't matter much. Pacers lose 127-110. That is now 8 straight losses, 6 in a row by at least 15 points. Rick Carlisle, 9 o'clock this morning. If you need to hear from the Pacers head coach right now, here you go.
A couple weeks ago, I know you mentioned that you thought a shot-making game might be coming for you guys, but many games where you guys, until the fourth tonight, even struggled to make it. Do you feel like the offensive process is still how you want it, especially as you keep talking about process, or is there still something you're looking for on that end of the floor?
No, we got to be better in really all areas.
21 turnovers. Is there anything thematic you saw with those?
Yeah, throw it to the team in blue and not the team in white.
Short, succinct, blunt, what you would expect from Rick Carlisle last night, James.
Yeah, shout out to Tony East. We'll be going through the fire here in an hour and a half ourselves, hour and 45 minutes. But you could sense the frustration from him. I want to say it took a timeout, maybe a minute into the game, Kevin. It could have been quicker than that.
I don't even think it was a minute.
But, yeah, he's clearly trying to send a message to his group like this isn't cutting it. And I felt that early on last night. But, again, they're in it, and then that rope gets let go, and they're out of it so quickly.
He's done the thing where they've taken so many timeouts that they get whistled for a technical.
Yeah.
Here lately.
And he just doesn't care.
Doesn't care. It's 1 point. Hasn't really mattered, but that's kind of the state of where the Pacers are at. If you want good news, Benedict Mathurin did play 25 minutes last night. It didn't appear to be any sort of minutes restriction. Really, he definitely had a rough first half and then was outstanding in the second half. He somewhat single-handedly kind of made it interesting there for a little while. He finished with 25 points and got on one of his typical Mathurin heaters there in the fourth quarter. Siakam, 29. Isaiah Jackson did have 16 and 8 as he returned to Detroit. Pacers, Hornets inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse tomorrow. That is the 4-win Hornets, I think, 5-win Hornets. So there's ever going to be a time to potentially get a W, maybe this is it. Monday Night Football last night, it was the Cowboys all over the Raiders, 33-16. Dak Prescott, 4 touchdowns. George Pickens is really talented.
He is, but again, he wasn't even out there the first series, right? Him and CeeDee Lamb for disciplinary reasons.
It seems to be a trend around the league.
Were they sleeping in a meeting or sleeping in the team facility like Abdul Carter, who got benched for his first series, I believe, for the Giants this past weekend?
It is odd. I sometimes walk past a Colts player's locker and I'm like, wait, is that a human in there? And I look in there and I'm like, oh yeah, there is one guy just catching a little snooze.
Yeah, you find a nice nap area at work.
And it always
you
looks.
got to do it.
Do you ever feel it looks so awkward for them, James? I'm always like, is that good to contort your body like that?
But I think it's youth that kicks in at that point because most of those guys are early 20s.
Oh yeah, that is a far cry.
So it's like yeah, exactly.
Kevin be laying on the floor in here stretching out.
Can I get a king bed in here?
I'm always surprised at how the locker room, to me, you think it would be shorter, but you can kind of stretch out like you said. So I'm like, how do you get flat? That shouldn't be possible. But Granted, these are usually DBs and running backs. I don't see DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart trying to catch snooze in a little cubby.
No, I haven't seen Quentin Nelson get into REM sleep here at all. Speaking of the Colts, they are off today, back to practice tomorrow. We'll get into some injury updates on the other side. I saw the line has already dropped a little bit. Kansas City still favored by 3 in this one. Around the NFL yesterday, a couple of news items to note here. Hated to see it on several fronts. Michael Penix suffering what appears to be a season-ending knee injury.
Yeah, that stinks.
I think I saw it's not the same knee that he had reconstructed twice in his career.
Is it not? I don't know.
I thought it was the opposite one at Indiana. So the Penix situation just hasn't gone well, and that's one of those awkward ones, James, too, of if they fire Raheem Morris, what do they do GM-wise? That was a controversial draft pick to begin with, taking Penix as high as they did.
Yeah.
What does the future hold for him there in Atlanta? And if you want to turn off injuries for any player in the NFL, there are several. I'd love to turn off injuries, period, but I'd love to do it for Juju Brents, a foot injury for the Warren Central product. Again, he's down in Miami after the Colts cut him at the end of the preseason. He was playing a little bit for the Dolphins, actually started a couple of games.
Yeah.
James, it is now 18 games he's played in his NFL career out of a possible 51.
This is the point where you wonder if his body will allow him to even have an NFL career, unfortunately, because you keep breaking down, you're not going to get more chances. It's not how it works in this league. So I do pray for him. I feel for him. He's a great dude. Never worried about his character or his work ethic. But, boy, anytime you see him go down, that is certainly going to be something that's attached to his name now. That's the label, injury prone.
1 year left in his rookie deal.
Yeah.
So hopefully he'll get one more shot at it and can have a healthy offseason. And the other item that I wanted to throw in here was Jamar Chase, suspended yesterday for 1 game for the Hawk Tua that I think James Boyd alluded to yesterday. I find it relevant because they play the Patriots. Jamar Chase is talented enough. He can single-handedly go win a football game.
Yes, he can.
So the fact that he is
And they're
out,
fighting for their lives when it comes to getting to the playoff picture.
and from a Colts standpoint, you want New England to lose.
Yeah.
New England's schedule is a joke the rest of the way. Again, Cincinnati.
So what you're saying is the city should hate Jamar Chase.
Correct. Yes. Well, they probably hate the Patriots, but yeah, I mean, this would be a double whammy here because you would like to cheer
You
for
can't
the
even
Bengals.
help us when you're supposed to, Mr. Chase.
Cannot at all. So that will be a suspension coming up on Sunday. By the way, Thursday night will be one to circle. It's Bills and Texans. If you are a Colts fan, you certainly want to be cheering for the Bills. And that one is Houston has won a couple. Sounds like it'll be another start for Davis Mills. I don't know what college basketball poll you look at. Indiana's ranked in one of them, 25th, I think, in the coaches, unranked in the AP. That is from a men's standpoint. And Purdue climbed back to the one spot there. I think Houston had overtaken them for a week there, but as Purdue heads to the Bahamas, coming up later this weekend, they reclaim the number 1 ranking after winning at Alabama. Anything else, boys?
Victor Wembanyama's injury, that stinks.
Yeah, he's going to be out a couple weeks, right?
You know what, though? Did you see the news related to calf injuries that I want to say the Mavericks, their medical staff said for Anthony Davis, they don't want him to return until they see like medical data proving that he won't basically tear his Achilles. And I think this is a new approach we're kind of seeing after the injury to Tyrese and Jason Tatum and Damian Lillard, where teams are being very, very, very cautious with what we think are, in the past was, he just got a calf strain. Now it's like, no, will this lead to an Achilles tear? We'll take this very, very slow because Anthony Davis has been out, I believe, for maybe 2 or 3 weeks at this point with no real timeline of when he'll return.
Well, and I remember kind of feeling that way about Kenny Moore II when he got hurt, whatever that was, 2 months ago at this point, a month and a half ago.
I was like, just put him on IR.
Right. And now he ended up missing, 3 games, right? And then got back that 4th one there. So, yeah, it certainly is. I get why NBA teams in particular would be super cautious given the nature of those injuries.
And Kevin's guy, James Franklin, got a new gig. How about that?
Yeah, Inner Sandman for James Franklin. That's a great hire for Virginia Tech, right?
Mm-hmm.
Virginia Tech strikes me as sleepy.
Yeah.
That's at least something.
That's something. He'll definitely bring some piss and vinegar out there.
And then is Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss, or is he just flirting? Lane Kiffin seems like a great flirter.
Oh, he does.
I think he has to leave, though, right? Unless they
I don't know.
I mean, what was the internet rumor yesterday? The family went to Baton Rouge?
Yeah, like on a tour, basically, of, I don't know, the university in the city or something like that.
Well, they're just visiting campus. Can they not just, have the nice tour?
Not when your daddy is Lane Kiffin. I will say this, though. I mean, I don't know how deep Ole Miss's pockets are to keep him around, but we all know it's all about money. And it's not like he would be going to a, nothing institution here.
Speaking of campus tours, Fernando Mendoza strikes me as the kid on the campus tour who won't stop asking questions.
Okay, I was going to go the other way and say he strikes me as the guy who would be the campus tour guide.
Oh, yes.
Like
both.
he strikes me as the guy who would have the great
He's either walking next to the tour guide or, yes, he has the excellent backward
walk and he's pointing and
the
teaching.
photos.
Oh,
yes. Yeah. I needed him when I was overseas in Berlin to give me a tour of everything I need to learn. He's
He
got
is
that
one of a
voice, the
kind.
command.
One of a kind.
He's a very likable dude.
He went Mr. McAfee yesterday.
Yeah.
With Pat there. So, Fernando Mendoza Heisman campaign officially
Mr. McAfee.
underway. All right, coming up on the other side, should the Colts make a roster move that maybe not everyone's thinking about? I'll toss that James Boyd's way. And a little injury update from Shane Steichen yesterday. Much more on the Pacers and what has been a historically bad start to this season. Rick Carlisle will join us coming up at 9. Dane Brugler, NFL draft analyst, at 8:30. This is the Fan Morning Show on a Tuesday. Minor Rick Carlisle, 9 o'clock today as they got back late last night from the Motor City, 8:30. NFL draft analyst Dane Brugler. We tend to have a draft-centric conversation sometime during the bye week, and this time it's not about the Colts. It will be about more of the draft prospects in the state of Indiana, particularly the quarterback in Bloomington, the running back in South Bend, among others. We'll chat with Dane coming up at 8:30. For those that have not been outside yet, it is ugly. Good luck on the morning commute. It is rainy, and it is a bit dicey, and I have a feeling Matt Baer is a busy man over on WIBC with some accidents. So
you know what my grandma
safe
used to
travel.
always say? And I could tell, like, you are a non-driver. I love you, Grandma, but you don't drive. She used to always say, and she still says, it's not ugly weather because God made it. It's all good weather. And I'm like, that's a great perspective until you have to drive in it, Grandma.
That is the most grandma comment I've ever heard.
Yes. You lucky to even see in some weather. You above ground. I'm like, okay, I don't want to get into the whole,
Yeah, I mean,
I should be grateful for everything at all times. Yes, I'm very grateful for rain, but right now I am not.
I'm definitely dropping a few God references while I'm driving in this weather, that's for sure. And I'm seeing drivers with no lights on or something.
She will tell me that ad nauseum to the point where I feel like I can hear a little voice in my head every time I walk outside. I'm like, oh, it's cold. She's like, boy, just put your long johns on. It's good weather.
Thank you for those in the YouTube chat suggesting questions to ask Rick Carlisle coming up at 9 o'clock about his favorite holiday or maybe the Colts game on Sunday.
Lord,
I think Rick
just pray for us.
Yeah, I can't say I'm looking forward to that one. He did have a Sauce Gardner comment. I believe it was a week or two ago when the Sauce Gardner trade happened. He walked into the media room and mentioned that pregame. Sauce Gardner to Miami during the bye week. Is that right, James Boyd? He was out. This is a second bye week for Sauce Gardner. The man's living right. He got 2 bye weeks.
Yeah, 2 bye weeks, 2 overseas trips. Not a bad life. Max contract.
He went overseas for the Jets game, correct? They were in Dublin, if I'm not mistaken. And then he also went overseas on the Jets bye week. And then with the Colts, he obviously played in Germany last week. And then Miami, which I guess is kind of close to overseas.
Yeah. Sauce kind of strikes me as the guy who probably said a little bit more than he probably should in some situations, because even yesterday when he's talking about what he did in the bye week, he just goes, kind of rambles. And he's like, oh, yeah, Miami. And we're like, oh. When he said that, I was like, I could tweet this out right now and just get a bunch of stupid reactions. I did not, because I was like, that's probably not fair to him. But he strikes me as a guy who plays hard and enjoys life.
Players travel. I think Cam Bynum went to Hawaii during the bye week. Players travel during the bye week.
And if this team is as good as we think it is, and I believe they're a team that at least won 1 playoff game. Shocking, I know, I'm going on a limb here. But if that is the case, this is your last little recharge before you try to lock in and go on a run.
Okay, Travaris Ward, the update there, James, yesterday. Shane Steichen, pretty much the most he would say on Ward was, I should have some more information for you on Wednesday.
Yes.
If I'm reading tea leaves, does that mean they open up the 21-day window for him to return to practice Wednesday?
That's what I would think. And the biggest reason I'm already kind of on that train is because he traveled to Berlin. And you would not travel that far if you were still feeling the effects of a concussion. And Kevin, just to give everyone kind of the scene. So over in Berlin, this is probably the most access I've had pregame ever in my career. They allowed us to basically stand right where the players run out to the field for warmups. And if you knew nothing about the Colts and their injury history or who was on IR and who wasn't, you would think that Mooney Ward was going to play in that game. He came out, cleats, warm up on, a little sweat going. He was basically trying to warm up as if he were going to be playing in a game. And that whole presentation to me indicated that he's on the right track to play sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that is great context. He has done something along those lines, I think, at practice, too, before they headed over there. So, the thing about a concussion, particularly one where you're out for 4 weeks, it does offer a timetable that as long as you get over some of those early symptoms, you can probably ramp up your cardio decently well. It's not like a ankle injury, for example, where you might have some cardio limitations. Therefore, you need the 21-day window, which, again, just to remind everybody, once you return to practice on injured reserve, you have 21 days to either be activated to play in a game or you have to stay on IR for the rest of the year. So, again, I think signs point to Mooney Ward practicing tomorrow, therefore playing on Sunday. And a reminder, this would be his first game back in Arrowhead. He's played 4 years. He played 4 years, his first 4 years in the NFL with the Chiefs. He's played Kansas City before, Most recently, of course, with San Francisco. But this would be the first time he's been back in Arrowhead since he played for the Chiefs. DeForest Buckner, I don't know. He did the stem cell thing, and Shane Steichen is hopeful he returns this season. And
hope is the word he continues to use.
I'm
and I
hopeful
hope
to
a lot
play
of
Augusta
things.
National.
Yeah. And like I said yesterday on the show, I hope to marry Kehlani one day. It ain't going to happen. I would have to get in the same room with her, which ain't going to happen either. So as far as DeForest Buckner goes,
Is this where I say I hope that I marry Kesher, or should I just be very happy that Maddie said yes to me?
I was about to say, again, Maddie, if you listen and you want to black his eyes, I'm no snitch. I'll turn the other cheek and let that happen. But
You usually say that about Jeff.
I do. And honestly, he usually toes the line a little bit worse. But love you, boss. But going back to DeForest Buckner, which I probably should on this show, I think the next real update that we can ask for is when he's eligible to really return from IR, which will be in Week 15 for the Seattle Seahawks game. Because at that point, you have, 3 games left in the year? We can straight up ask, 3 or 4, I believe, 15, 16, 17? Yeah. So, yeah, you would have 4 games left in the year. I would straight up ask Shane, is he coming back this year? Will he be back for the playoffs? Because at that point, I mean, who cares about the last 2 regular season games? At this point, if there is a possibility for him to play again this year, you just hope that it's when the games count the most, and that is obviously after the regular season ends.
I have to bring up Anthony Richardson because technically, like Javarius Ward, James, he is eligible to return to practice tomorrow. He and, of course, Mooney both got hurt in the pregame warmups of the Arizona game. Their stay on IR is complete in terms of the eligible. Yeah, you have to have 4 games on IR.
Did I read the tea leaves correctly, though, there?
When I hear Shane, though, I hear not as much clarity. Like Mooney Ward, I feel like he practiced tomorrow.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson, it doesn't sound like it.
No, I think the terms or words that he used were still rehabbing. And someone commented when I put that out there on social media, how do you rehab your face? And I was thinking to myself, in a non-joking manner, that's a good question. Because if it's just I need this just to heal thing, I am not sure how orbital fractures really work. Is it something that you just give it a certain amount of time and it'll heal? I don't know what you rehab. I don't think there is a rehab.
Right,
you can't
because
just...
he had surgery.
Yeah.
And so now the thought is, I would assume just rest, mostly
Yeah,
there.
there's no workout. You can't put a weight on your face and say, all right, flex this muscle. That's not realistic. So I'm not so sure when he'll be back. And I think the question you might ask, Kevin, was about who's the backup.
Yeah, and he did say that when Richardson gets cleared, I believe he said if he gets cleared,
yes,
then he would go back to being the backup. Again, it's been Riley Leonard for the last 4 games. And, I bring all this up, James, because Daniel Jones has had exceptional health through the first 10 games of the season. If Jones plays every snap on Sunday, it'll be the first time in his NFL career he's ever gotten to this point of a season and not miss a snap due to injury or poor play. So it's in Jones's career, which is what? This is now his 7th year in the NFL, I think it is.
Yeah.
It's rather unprecedented. He's reached this point of a season, and he's taken every snap without injury or bad play. So, the Colts have not needed any other quarterback this year for a meaningful snap. We'll see if that continues now as the Colts get back from their bye
I have some
week.
questions about the Colts that I have some numbers about the Colts that we can get into.
Okay. All right. Maybe a little tease there for later.
Yes, for sure. I went down a rabbit hole on a couple of these different things related to the Colts, and so there are some numbers out there that really stood out to me about this season. I think our listeners can appreciate that, kind of paint the picture of how different things feel this year versus last year and a few years prior.
Quinn just called and he asked, have you guys heard anything on Jalen Carlisle? What's his status?
I have not. I will follow up, and this is something I'm kicking myself for because I had a few people reach out to me to ask Shane this yesterday, but I will ask tomorrow, Wednesday. But here's my own personal belief, and I know people are
just set the scene on Carlisle for a second here because I think some people might not know.
Please do.
Second-year linebacker, was thought to be a starter next to Zaire Franklin this year. I don't think he really grasped the starting job with Lou Anarumo coming over this offseason. And then an ankle injury, James, proved to be very nagging. And that, I think, contributed to him definitely not winning the starting job. And we've seen them start a slew of linebackers. Jermaine Pratt, of course, has come over in the last month or so, and he has kind of locked down, I would say, that starting job. So I just want to throw in a little context before you got into Carlisle.
Right. And to add to that context that you gave, Jermaine Pratt is someone who's played in the Lou Anarumo's system for years now. So he knows it probably as well as anybody on the roster when it comes to his assignments, what he's supposed to do. That's number one. Number two, with Carlisle, at this point in the year, I personally wonder how much can you really rely on him, especially if the expectation is for him to be a starter when he hasn't played really any football, I want to say, since training camp, Kevin, if I'm not mistaken. The guy has been on IR. Has he been eligible this year for a game? If he has been,
no,
yeah, he's been out since training camp.
I think he was one of those that practiced in training camp, but then got hurt. And,
from that perspective, I'll follow up on it, but I wouldn't hold my breath on this guy being a big focal point of the defense this late in the year with so many reinforcements already kind of put into those positions at linebacker and other places. Obviously, they really bolstered their cornerback room. But for linebacker purposes, he's not somebody that I would really think that he's going to be a big factor down the stretch because of not playing this year, not really having a chance to play in Lou Anarumo's system, and just the health. This is a guy who, no knock on Jalen Carlisle, it's just a reality. He has not been healthy since they drafted him. And I get that he's supposed to be the more rangy linebacker because of the former safety history
DB.
at Mizzou, but again, that's all about potential and things that might be in the future. Right now, the Colts are in the moment, in the present, and I personally would not sub out Jalen Carlisle for Jermaine Pratt just because he might become healthy, and even then, we don't know. So I'll definitely follow up on that, but from what I understand, it's just his ankle. He hasn't had much success with it when it comes to the recovery, and that's not me like speculating. That's just obvious. He would have been back by now if the ankle was right. That's just reality.
I've gotten the vibe it's not imminent by any means. I think the Mooney Ward thing is imminent. I don't get that vibe with.
Yeah, there are a couple of players like him. Daniel Scott's been out for a while with like a knee injury. He's eligible to come back from IR. So I'll follow up on a couple of those guys. But again, not to be dismissive, whenever I'm asking injury updates, for me, I'm usually going towards, okay, who is a surefire starter? In this case, Mooney Ward, and then DeForest Buckner. And then for Anthony Richardson, your backup quarterback is usually more important as a backup than any other position on the team.
We'll give those Colts numbers James mentioned here, 8 o'clock hour. I also want to get to some Michael Pittman Jr. audio. He had quite the amount of praise for Alec Pierce yesterday. Great teammate praise. I do think there was an interesting angle that we can get to with, with Pittman's comments yesterday that had me laughing a little bit. If you are a Colts fan right now, would you rather have Michael Badgley kicking or Matt Gay kicking for you?
Badgley.
Matt Gay doesn't miss extra points.
I know that, but you already had the Matt Gay experience.
And he makes extra points. Michael Badgley misses extra points.
Was every miss that Matt Gay had last year?
Matt Gay
50?
missed one extra point in the last 3 years. Michael Badgley's missed 2 in 4 weeks.
I don't know, Kevin. I feel like once you kick your ex to the curb, you cannot pull a U-turn.
Brother, if it's good enough for you, you might be calling it back.
You ain't lying.
Sometimes the grass ain't always greener, and you can take that in a lot of different directions on this Tuesday morning. I'm not saying where the grass is to be abundantly clear on this.
Keep it PG, but
and I bring that up because Matt Gay cut yesterday by the Washington Commanders. For those that haven't been paying attention to the Matt Gay post-Colts life, the Commanders signed him relatively quickly after the Colts cut him back in the spring. He has done what we saw Matt Gay do here. He has missed from 50, north of 50. He missed, I think it was 2 of them, in Madrid from past 50 yards. They ended up cutting him. So I mean, I say it a bit jokingly. I assume they are sticking with Michael Badgley, but James, aren't we one more Badgley short miss away from this being a thing? Like, I know the Colts have had some kicker struggles, and Matt Gay was obviously a part of that, but Matt Gay did not miss short field goals. He did not miss extra points. So how greedy do you want to get? It's not like Michael Badgley's banging them home from 58 and 62.
I hear you, but boy, this is like...
Mark
The
Dykton, would
worst-
you rather have Michael Badgley kicking for you or Matt Gay?
I think Happy Gilmore sums it up pretty good.
Please don't go.
I am not spending the rest of my life with a loser. I'm gone.
Good, then get the hell out of my life. Who needs you? Beat it. Leave me alone. I'm sorry, babe. I didn't mean that either.
You can't have it both ways.
I want that to be Chris Ballard on the phone to Matt Gay so bad.
You can't have it both ways. No, I would say we did the Matt Gay experience. I mean, we were fielding.
It's kickers. You
we
always
were
call them back.
We were fielding calls left and right.
Yeah, I get it.
I don't
get
want to
it.
go down that road again. I don't want to go
Are
down
we
that
just
road.
going to ignore the missed extra points by Badgley?
No, but I also
Okay,
think
so what
you
would
know
you
what
do?
you're getting though. He was.
Would
on-
you go get Matt Gay?
I would think
No,
long
I
and
don't
hard.
know hesitancy. You've been telling me how
Yeah,
good the
come on
X is.
now.
You need to be standing on
I'd
business.
rather have Matt Gay kick than Michael Badgley.
Okay, that's all I hear you say. If you said, maybe I can believe it.
I mean, it's
But,
interesting to me. Like they have it, and I get it. When you go to a third kicker in an NFL season, you're admitting we have a massive problem. And again, the Colts obviously Spencer Schrader's injury is the reason why they had to go to a second kicker. Like third kicker is DEFCON. Mark, you've had kicker issues.
Yeah.
You know how it is. So, but it is kind of wild that like Matt Gay and Michael Badgley both can't make from north of 50 yards. And when I say that, they both don't make it very consistently. Obviously, they've made field goals from north of 50. I want to say Matt Gay was 4 of 9 this year from north of 50 in Washington. And then for the most part, has made every other kick. Whereas with Badgley, you do have these 2 missed extra points here in recent weeks. And just to put that into further perspective, the last time the Colts missed 2 extra points pre-Badgley, you've got to go back 4 years. He's missed 2 in 5 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, kicking
I
issues.
get you don't want to get desperate and, make the Happy Gilmore phone call, but
Yeah, but also, I mean, Michael Badgley is somebody that certainly has a resume that precedes everything else.
yeah,
I
he's
mean,
not homecoming queen and valedictorian.
Yeah,
and
nah.
I think you have to have a longer streak than just like two missed extra points in the last 2 games. I think if it
Mark
keeps,
will be the first one tweeting about this Sunday if he misses
well, no,
a
because
short
I'm
one
in the same
Arrowhead.
boat with the Bears because Cairo Santos can't hit north of 50, and they
Fair.
had Jake Moody on the practice squad, and now he just got signed by the Commanders. So you're the guy who has the booming leg. He's gone now. So you're kind of like, all right, we're going to pull the trigger on Santos, who should have done it last couple weeks. They didn't, and now Moody's gone. So
More
they're in the same boat.
concerning, Michael Badgley being as short as he was from 53 or the missed extra point?
I think it's the extra points, honestly. The extra points need to be layups. Now, north of 50 has turned into a free throw, to put it into basketball terms.
Okay.
But I can somewhat live with that. Trust me, it's not ideal by any means in today's NFL. Kickers are not coming up short from 50, to be very, very clear. But the extra points need to be layups.
I
So
agree.
that's what,
I agree.
but, it's probably a stupid hypothetical that the Colts aren't even entertaining.
I'm
but
going to say give it another week and we might be having a
Well,
serious conversation.
3 of the next 4 games outdoors. Just something to keep an eye on. One thing to note, Rick Carlisle, 9 o'clock today, not 8 o'clock for him. James, I watched that game last night, and boy, I know you and I are on the same wavelength. That Jalen Duren is a grown man.
When did he get that good? I was looking at his career stats.
Dude,
He's made a massive leap
when he
this
dribbled
year.
into that pull-up, I was like,
Yes!
what in the I was like, I was not familiar with your game, sir.
I was thinking to myself, like, oh, yes, this is exactly what I want to see. Cade Cunningham's out. This
I
guy's
thought he
thinking
just
he's
dunked and caught lobs,
no,
which he does very well. to be
he's
clear.
turning into a star big man for them. And honestly, I was thinking, boy, this would be the perfect guy to pair with Halliburton.
Oh my gosh, when he dunked on Matherin and then the next possession he threw Tony Bradley out of the club. I mean,
Yeah.
Tony Bradley's a big dude.
Yeah.
And when he threw him out of the paint, I was
And
like,
they said he's only like, I think he turned 22 today. And I was like, boy, he's going to be, aren't they like a divisional opponent? I'd never keep up with NBA divisions, but
oh yeah.
That will be somebody the Patriots have to see for years to come.
Yeah.
And I will give Matherin this credit. I love his competitiveness because he is nuts. The man gets dunked on by Jalen Duren and just smiles. Like, I'll get my lick back. And I love that about him. I miss that.
Yeah, Matherin.
He's talking to the
Yeah.
Pistons bench. I mean, the guy, he is wired differently.
You
we
got
need
the
that.
full 48-minute Matherin experience last night.
Yes.
If you went to bed at halftime, you wanted to pull your hair out with Matherin. And then in the second half, he is literally team climb on my back and watch.
Kevin's knocking down the the statue at one point. Now he's rebuilding
then
it back up,
building it higher than Daniel Jones.
grabbing the paper mache.
Did you really put out a show Twitter poll? Should the Colts bring back Matt Gay?
Because I think it's a ridiculous question.
So you think it is a ridiculous
I don't
question?
think it's that ridiculous after he kind of talked me off
What
the
if
ledge.
Matt Gay's name was Bob Jones?
But you already went down the Bob Jones experience before.
He makes extra points.
Okay.
I mean,
But
aren't extra points the one you really want?
Yes, especially for a team that scores at this rate. You
Like
got
Shane Steichen goes for all the fourth downs anyways. How many field goals are the Colts really kicking?
No, that's why I posed the question. Because do the fans want to see Matt Gay trotting into West 56th again?
Oh, that Happy Gilmore clip made me laugh. Dane Brugler, draft analyst at 8:30. Much more Colts, much more Pacers. The Heisman campaign officially announced from Indiana. Fernando Mendoza. We'll hit on that.
I'm laughing. One of the people in the YouTube chat said, "Good morning, Coach. How are you?" Good. That just,
Oh, that's a Rick's
that's gonna be you in
I
like
don't
an
even
hour.
think he goes good. I think it's just okay.
Okay, yeah, that's what it is. It's okay, which is probably more
There's
than
an awkward
you wanna
pause.
say. Yes.
Get us to 9:30. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton here on a Tuesday.
Good, are you, honey?
You're going nowhere, Happy, and you're taking me with you. All you ever talk about is being a pro hockey player, but there's a problem. You're not any good.
I am good. You know what? You're a lousy kindergarten teacher. I seen those finger paintings you bring home and they suck! I'm sorry, babe. I didn't mean that. I think they're excellent finger paintings. Please, don't go.
I am
Late night getting home for the Pacers, so it'll be Rick Carlisle at 9 o'clock here on this Tuesday morning. Looking forward to chatting with Dane Brugler, NFL draft analyst, coming up at 8:30. We have Dane on probably a couple times during the year, definitely at the Combine, almost annually it seems like. So we'll chat about Fernando Mendoza with him. Indiana, kind of officially, publicly, social media-wise, if you will, backing the Heisman campaign. Boy, the fact that you can just rattle off Heisman Mendoza, oh, man, doesn't that just sound great?
I did enjoy that. I enjoyed that. And I'm a sucker for the typical, and I'm sure they're all great human beings. Once you tell me the backstory of the kid, and I believe, is it his mom or someone in his life?
Mom has MS.
MS,
and
yes.
so, yeah, him and his brother have really done a lot off the field to raise money.
Yes.
I believe there's a burger at Buffalo Louie's, I want to say, which didn't you stop there?
I did. I'm sorry. I didn't know what burger that was. Otherwise, I would have ordered it. But shout out to Buffalo Louie's. That was some good eating.
It is very good eating down there. So, yeah, I mean, he just, we're half joking, half serious of, he's the campus tour guide down there with his just pure and genuine joy. He was on, again, with Pat McAfee yesterday. He mentioned that him and Daniel Jones recently had a conversation. So
yeah.
Maybe that'll be something that Daniel Jones will enlighten us about here coming up tomorrow. And just to remind people from a Heisman standpoint, Antoine Randall, one of my favorite players to watch growing up, he finished 6th in the Heisman Trophy back in 2001, the winner of the 2001 Heisman Trophy.
Matt Leinart?
Matt Leinart is James Boyd's guess. Mark Dykton?
Reggie Bush?
I was going Reggie Bush.
Freeney, 9th.
No, I think Bush was later.
Shout out to Rex Grossman, runner-up. A man that I don't even know if he ever played a game in the NFL.
Oh, I definitely got this wrong.
Oh. Eric Crouch?
Mark Dykton.
Woo! What a pull.
Unbelievable.
God.
Do you have some AI glasses that you just all of a sudden just...
Yeah, I've got the...
Did he play a snap in the NFL?
I've got the Chauncey Billups special.
3rd round pick of the Rams. Wow, who's that high? So Randall L, 6, and of course Anthony Thompson. That was one of the closer Heisman races. Him and Andre, I think it was Andre Ware.
Antoine Randall, by the way, is still a great athlete.
Runner-up.
Told you I played against him in a pickup game during the Combine. They usually have these basketball runs super early in the morning before everything starts Combine week. And we'll gather at the YMCA, the Ursay YMCA right downtown at 6 a.m. And he was out there and I was guarding him and did not go well for your boy.
I wanted IU.
I love that he's on the Bears.
I wanted IU to hire him instead of Kurt. Well, to be honest with you, I'd never really heard of Kurt Cignetti before taking the job. That's who I wanted IU to hire. He is with the Bears.
He would have been a
right,
good.
Mark?
He would have got a good reception though.
He's high up with the Bears, right? Assistant head coach to Ben Johnson.
Yeah, and wide receivers coach. Yeah.
So he's with Dan Campbell and that staff in Detroit now, with Chicago there.
So he was the guy that my uncle was getting mad at when, who was it that dropped the pass? DJ Moore dropped one that was just terrible.
Yeah, that was a non-DJ Moore
I had
drop.
I had to tell my uncle, hey, chill out. That's an IU legend right there. You hush your mouth.
Speaking of wideouts, Michael Pittman Jr. yesterday met the media again. Colts off today, back to practice tomorrow. And just to kind of give a lay of the land of where the Colts are at contractually at wideout, Alec Pierce is in a contract year. James Boyd, I would say he is flourishing in this contract year. Continuing to tack on a comma, continuing to tack on a 0 with how Alec Pierce has played. Michael Pittman Jr., franchise tag, last year, 2 years ago?
2 years ago. I think this was 2024.
And the Colts ended up getting that extension done with them. But
yeah,
remember,
within a couple of days.
did the 3-year extension,
yes,
a la little Terry McLaurin, from this past offseason here in the hopes and the belief that he would hit then the open market.
Yeah, he basically said you're going to pay your boy again.
A 3rd contract.
Yes.
So that was the reason doing the 3-year and not a 4-year deal is I want to get to extension territory quicker than signing the bigger 2nd contract there. Here was Michael Pittman Jr. yesterday when asked about the season his fellow wideout Alec Pierce is having.
Yeah, I mean, people have always seen him as a deep threat, but I think what he's doing in the intermediate game now, I mean, he's really opening up his game and showing people what he can do. And if we don't sign him quick, I mean, the price just keeps going up. I mean, and he's not going to slow down. The way that he...
Michael Pittman Jr. yesterday on Alec Pierce.
Sounded like AP's agent.
Yeah, I know.
Pay my guy.
Yeah, CAA intern Michael Pittman Jr. right there. I'm very curious how and it's a great problem to have. Very curious how the wide receiver money will be allocated here in future years.
For the Colts, you mean?
For the Colts.
Yes.
Again, Pierce, contract year. Pittman, next year will be the final year of his contract. The thought when he signed the second contract was, I'll get the extension this coming offseason. Another extension.
Right.
Josh Downs will be in a contract year next year.
Yes.
So if I just played this game for you, James, it's
I don't like this game already.
2027. Okay? So 2 years from now. You can only have two of the three. Pittman, Pierce, Downs. Who do you take?
I told you I don't like this game.
You're bringing a lot of fun games to the table.
I
today.
know.
You're asking
It's a
Pittman-
better game
Matt
than Matt
Gay.
Gay or Michael Badgley. Where's our poll at?
Well,
by
that
the way,
wasn't a
Mark?
game. That was just torture.
I put a poll on both the Twitter page and on the stream, and currently 70% say no on the stream.
They don't want their ex back?
Nope.
I
They're
ain't
saying
gonna
they
lie.
hate the question. I said, don't blame me.
Every
Blame
time I had an ex, it always go back to wait. She was pretty fine though. I might be able to figure something out.
I respect you publicly admitting that.
Hey, I'm a man, right? Hey, look, I'm being honest. It's never the other stuff. It's like, but
We
dang,
got
she
a lot
still
of
look
people
good.
and their brains are going all sorts of ways in their cars right now, and not because of the morning rain here on this commute. I'm a Michael Pittman dude. I'd take Downs and Pierce. Yeah, to me, it's all about traits that are harder to find.
You know what? I might lean Downs and Pierce as well.
And you got to diversify the room.
Diversify the room, yes, but I think Pittman's age also probably creeps up in my mind too. Because isn't he, I want to say he's maybe 26, 27
Yeah,
at this
Mark,
point?
look that up. I
So-
think he might even be older than that. I think Pittman was an old draft pick.
I want to say he's 27. So 2 years from now, 29, do I want to pay another receiver that much money at that age? Probably not. So that's probably a factor as well.
He is 28. Just turned 28 in October.
At that point, then I'm probably not trying to give him a big bag again.
Well, and when I heard those comments yesterday, and again, I mean, that's just typical Pitt. He's a great teammate, and he stands for so much of, I've said it a million times. He's not your typical diva wideout. There's no USC pretty boy in Michael Pittman Jr.
Yeah.
He stands for so much of what you want to be about. James, his cap hit for next year is $29 million.
I know.
The Colts only have 4 cap hits north of $20 million for next year. So this is a bigger cap hit than DeForest Buckner, than Quentin Nelson, than Mooney Ward.
And this doesn't include Daniel Jones getting paid next year.
Jones could obviously shift that. But even if let's say Jones' cap hit will be bigger, which probably will. I don't think many people would view Michael Pittman Jr. as the second highest cap hit on the team.
Right.
If you rank the top 10 Colts players, Michael Pittman Jr. is not second on the list. So, these are all good problems to have, but these are all curious things that I think the Colts will have to address. And it's just kind of like bye-week fodder, honestly. And I'm kind of curious. I don't know. Maybe I'll ask Alec next time we get the chance to talk to him of, does he feel like there could be an in-season extension? We don't see it often with Chris Ballard, but I would say Alec Pierce is close to deserving that.
When do we retire the line? We don't see this often from Chris Ballard as well, because everything we've seen from the man for the last 8 months has not been anything that's happened previously.
I know. I've joked, but now I'm serious. You have BC and maybe AD, right?
That's so good.
Is that right?
That's so good.
Don't we say that about Chris Ballard now?
Oh, man.
I mean, had I known he'd change his ways, I don't know if I would have written back in January, fire the man.
Yeah.
But pre-CB, if I can go down that path, a man that was very plugged into wanting a vanilla defensive scheme and a man that wasn't going to spend in free agency, now, what would it be? AD, CB? I should stop with my acronyms here, but it's a different Chris Ballard. I guess
a different Chris
is the
Ballard.
simplest way to put it. And again, I say this in all seriousness, and I've said it about Chris Ballard prior, or Kevin Pritchard, I should say prior. I think in those positions of authority, James, you obviously have done something in your career to get to that point.
That's true.
You have accomplished
That is
something that ownerships around the leagues, plural, have viewed you enough to hire you. So I understand you have core beliefs. You have principles you don't want to waver from. No. Like, I earned this job. I got it for a reason. Don't waver. Adversity's going to hit. You don't, all of a sudden deviate from your plan. But I think there also comes a point in time where you just can't be stubborn as hell. And for Kevin Pritchard, and you probably lived it on the Pacers beat, that was saying no to Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner next to each other. That's when
at one point they had to change their stripes too to have that breakthrough, kind of like the Colts are having. Yes.
And I think in a way, I don't know if the Turner Sabonis personnel grouping necessarily played out from an NFL standpoint, but I think Ballard has clearly changed his ways here.
One thing on Alec Pierce, and I'm looking at Spotrac, which is one of the NFL salary websites we often use, and they project Alec Pierce's market value to be, for his next contract, 4 years at an annual average of about $16 million. I'm telling you right now today, I think that Alec Pierce will command $20 million next year as a wide receiver.
Oh, agreed. I think north of it.
Exactly. And I can already hear people telling me that's an overpay. That's too much for him. Yes, he's made strides, but he's not number one. But in today's league, man, it's either you pay over the price to keep the guy or you let him walk. Because there's no way. I mean, he stays healthy and clears 1,000 yards for the first time in his career and continues to show the versatility beyond just being a deep threat. Who, by the way, I looked this up yesterday, Kevin. He's still the only receiver in the league averaging over 20 yards a catch. That's in addition to everything else that he's done. He's a great run blocker.
I was going to say, he's starting to round out the real route tree.
Yeah. So this is still being arguably the best deep threat in the game, rounding out the route tree, being an exceptional blocker. I mean, cut on the tape from Berlin. The guy is on the other side of the field, lined up out wide when JT breaks one, and he ends up being his lead blocker to the end zone. Like, those types of things get you paid. And so I do wonder how much money he'll be able to command, especially if, let's say you, like, I don't know, would the Colts franchise tag him?
I think I would highly look into the tag for either Jones or Pierce.
The tag will be very high for the quarterback, obviously.
I know. I get
It'd be $46 million for 1 year, projected. Oof, man.
You really got to see these final 7 games.
I know. And you know what's crazy? Again, going back to Spotrac, they have Daniel Jones and his projected value annually on his next deal will be like $40+ million. I don't think it'll be that high, but this is where I get into and I don't want to get too far in the weeds, too ahead of myself, and we'll have this conversation plenty of times when the offseason rolls around, but how much can he ask for that the Colts are willing to give? Because he has gained so much leverage. Assuming he doesn't have a major injury.
I know. Part of me would like to think he'd realize this opportunity here in Indy doesn't grow on trees, and he should be grateful for it, but I wasn't born yesterday.
I could be grateful and still get paid a lot of money.
I know.
I mean, I'm very grateful for you to give me more money.
And agents and grateful are probably words that
I know. He doesn't strike me as that type of guy, which is why he has agents to play that kind of game. Because if he says, I want $40 million a year, what are the Colts going to say? No, I don't know.
Was Antoine Randall giving you buckets? I totally forgot he played basketball at IU. Briefly.
No, he did. He gave me buckets, and it really wasn't.
I'm picturing like him and Dan Campbell in a 2-man game.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily like him coming down and like pulling up for 3 or I'm going to cross over and get to. It was he would put me in the freaking post, and he's still in pretty good shape. And as a former football player, man, I can't hang in the post.
I love that.
I'm a $150.
5'11", he's posting you up.
Yeah, but no, his chest sits out here.
He's going mouse in the house. He's doing the Patrick Beverly.
It was a lot of mouse in the house. And yeah, it got to the point where I'm like, if you guys don't send help, he might score all 15 for his team. He's a good player. I mean, the guy, he's a great athlete. And it's just funny afterwards. I'm going, hey, I'm James Boyd. And he goes, yeah, I'm Antoine. I'm like, well, I know who you are. Like, it's cool that he's still humble enough to act that way.
We'll talk a little NFL draft here in 15. Again, normally this time we're chatting with Rick Carlisle. That'll be 9 o'clock with the Pacers head coach Dane Brugler going to join us here in 15. One note on the NBA draft, James.
Yeah.
Kevin O'Connor from The Ringer, I saw mention this the other day. and obviously has, sadly, I guess, plenty, or I don't know, maybe it's not sadly, maybe it's the best thing for the Pacers, frankly, as humbling as that sounds. This 2026 NBA draft, a lot of people are already starting to hype up, and Kevin O'Connor, NBA draft analyst for The Ringer, was chatting with an NBA executive, and this person mentioned to him that Cooper Flagg would likely have been, and again, remember, Flagg reclassified, so he actually should be in this year's draft, the 2026 draft. He likely would have been the third-ish pick and potentially dropped to 5 or 6 in the 2026 NBA draft class. Now, even if you don't want to get into Cooper Flagg hyperbole there, the fact that there is even a glimmer of that chatter just goes to show you this draft class coming up here in April for the NBA, or excuse me, June for the NBA. April would be the NFL draft. Generational is a word we use way too much in sports, but it sounds like it's got some legit high-end quality.
Yeah, it got Mark so excited he started playing love songs over there.
I'm nervous.
Just opened an app and it started firing off.
Mark sends that to his ex.
Yeah, exactly.
Matt Gay on line 1 there.
Like, I don't want to ask you to be black in your eyes either. So, everyone, calm down here. I would say, to that extent, Kevin, and I was joking at first, it really does get to a point where you start thinking, is there a chance for us to get a generational guy?
And you would be naive as an organization to ignore that. As much as you want to play to a standard and as much as you're all about winning and we don't tank, I mean, we are what, 14? Are the Pacers 1-13, is that right?
Yes, I believe after last night's loss, yes.
So you're 14 games into a season. Mark, do that math. What is that, 1/5 of the way through? Something along those lines?
I'm not a math guy, so I'm going to say yes, you're correct.
Like, we're not there. Tony East mentioned to us yesterday, he said
we're about a fifth.
He said about mid-December.
Might need a fifth to get through the Pacers season.
So, again, nothing with that we necessarily need to dive into too much with Benedict Mathurin coming back last night. But still, you'd be just, frankly, not doing your due diligence as an organization if you ignore that. So much more on that here coming up in a few. But, James, unless you got anything else, let's hit a morning check now.
No, I would just say, again, we see those Duke games, Kansas games, turn it on and see if there's a future
Champions
Pacer out
Classic
there.
Tonight?
There you go.
Yeah, Champions Classic tonight. I believe it's Michigan State, Kentucky. I want to say it's 6:30. In between those two games, you'll get your next iteration of the college football playoff poll. I don't think too much really reason for Indiana to jump or fall necessarily. I expect them to be at 2. Notre Dame will be interesting. How much do the 2 lost teams, now Oklahoma, getting another notable win? Do they jump Notre Dame? Does that push Notre Dame a little bit further down? That'll be something to keep an eye on coming up tonight. All right, last night in Detroit, Mark Dykton, let's let Rick Carlisle's words describe what he witnessed there with the Pacers.
No, we got to be better in really all areas.
21 turnovers. Is there anything thematic you saw with those?
Yeah, throw it to the team in blue and not the team in white.
James, 40 minutes from now, Rick Carlisle will join us as you count down the minutes.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great stuff. And I do appreciate him taking the time. But one of the things I want to ask him, and I will ask him, is how do you balance development? Because you're playing so many young guys and so many guys perhaps out of their natural positions, or you're asking them to do more than they're probably capable of this point in time versus trying to stack wins. So development versus wins and the frustration of, not really seeing the ladder when it comes to this team, especially being so far removed from what feels like a lifetime ago of playing for everything. So very interested to talk to Rick Carlisle. And again, as much as we joke about how tough the interview will be, I think people want to hear from him because this is a team that has their DNA is to play hard and to compete at a high level, but we're just not seeing the results like we normally would.
You better bring it, Kevin. Right out of the gate.
What's going on with your team?
Rick, when's the last time you checked
Hey, how about you run,
Tankathon?
the flex offense like I did in 4th grade?
25 for Benedict Mathurin last night, 25 minutes as well. So good news there in terms of his back in the lineup. Struggled early, but was Benedict Mathurin in the second half as the Pacers tried to make it interesting. But that is now 8 straight losses, 6 in a row by at least 15 points, which extends their franchise record. Monday Night Football last night, it was the Cowboys all over the Raiders. Dak Prescott threw for 4 touchdowns, and George Pickens reminded all of us that he is extremely talented. And probably
is.
very frustrating as well to coach.
He is. We got to get maybe an anonymous poll going at The Athletic. Like, how often have you been late to meetings? You ever been sleeping at the facility? Tell me the truth. Because
So it's both him and CeeDee Lamb?
I guess so. I don't know what. I'm sure it'll come out at some point, but what their issues were. But maybe it was
playing Pop-A-Shot in the locker room. It
I
took
don't
too
know.
long.
And you missed the morning meeting, or you walked in a little bit late for your team gathering. I don't know. But yeah, between spitting and sleeping, not a good look for a lot of
Spitting and sleeping.
NFL players lately.
I guess on the saliva front, as disgusting of a transition as that is, Jamar Chase suspended for Sunday's game with the Patriots. So that is of note because the Colts want the Patriots to lose. Denver on a bye this week. New England has a very easy schedule the rest of the way. Not good news for the Colts.
I'll throw this out there as well, and I laughed because one of my followers on Twitter said they think that Jamar Chase should be suspended another game for lying. I was like, I don't know. Like,
well, you were all over this when Jalen Carter did it week 1. You thought multiple games for Jalen Carter, did you not?
I thought that it was stupid for him to say he didn't play in the game. Yeah, because he didn't log a snap.
Yeah,
my
that
opinion,
counted because he didn't play.
Yeah, I think he should have been injected from that game and then suspended the following game. I think that should have been the case, which is kind of what happened. Well, actually didn't happen with Jamar Chase. He didn't get ejected from that game. But, yeah, that was my thinking. But I laughed at the whole, like, you spit on a guy, you should be honest about it. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, I spit on him. Doesn't sound any better to me.
Local injury news is always something that I don't want to share, but yesterday announced sounds like a season-ending knee injury for Michael Penix Jr. We have unfortunately been down that road before there. I don't believe it's the same knee that he needed surgery on twice at Indiana. So, again, Penix, controversial pick for how high he was taken. The Atlanta season has been a disaster. The regime, is it going to stay there? Doesn't sound good at all. And Juju Brents, unfortunately, the oft-injured Warren Central product, continued for him. Foot injury, suffered in Madrid for the Dolphins. He is out for the season. You just want to turn injuries off, frankly. Video game it up with some of these guys. So he has now played in 18 of a possible 51 games. He was a former second-round pick of the Colts. Speaking of the draft, speaking of the Colts, I guess it will be a little bit of Colts, but more of the other Indiana prospects. Is Fernando Mendoza going to be the number 1 overall pick? How would Dane Brugler view Jeremiah Love as a running back in the top 10?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Jeremiah Smith, your other favorite player.
We will talk NFL draft next with Dane Brugler. All right, 8:30 on a rainy Tuesday here. We've done this the last couple of years. When the Colts bye week hits, we talk a little bit about the NFL draft, and obviously things have shifted a whole lot. When the team you cover is 8-2, the draft maybe gets pushed a little bit further to the back burner, and then when they trade the 2026 and 2027 first-round picks, you don't find it totally relevant from a team standpoint. But we know the draft never sleeps, and the state of Indiana, oddly, could have some picks be called quite early coming up in April of next year. And to talk more about it, he is the best in the business. We always appreciate his chats with us. Kind of been an annual thing at the Combine in person, but from The Athletic, the great Dane Brugler is with us. Dane, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, guys. I mean, I prepared all morning for a 2028 mock draft. Are we not doing that?
Yeah, is Marshall Manning eligible?
I was going to say you sicko.
2028 mock draft. Knowing Dane, I'm like, some people have the Bible next to their bed. Other people have the Beast. And courtesy of Dane Brugler, he provides that for us.
This is true. I'm not saying this as the athletic guy, but the Beast still gets cracked open every now and then when I got to refresh my memory on where did this player come from? What weird fun fact can I use for a feature down the line? So, Dane, thank you for the services, brother.
It's very humbling to hear that because, it's the thing that I love about the draft guide is it's eternal, right? I mean, even I hear from fans all the time, like in free agency, hey, we just signed this player. I went back to the Beast from 6 years ago and found this out, and that's pretty cool. And so I love to hear that.
Okay, let's go to Bloomington, and the hype train is obviously alive and well, Heisman-wise, for Fernando Mendoza. I think a lot of people would be keeping an eye on a week from Saturday, NFL people, if indeed it plays out, of Indiana and Ohio State here for the Big Ten championship. Do you view him as a separator in a quarterback class that maybe has lost some of the preseason hype?
Yeah, I think he's the one quarterback who has lived up to the expectations based off of what we thought over the summer. In my initial top 50 back in August, I had 4 quarterbacks in the top 20. And Fernando Mendoza is the only one of those 4 still in the top 20. And he is looking like a strong contender for that QB1 spot. It's an interesting quarterback class because the top guys are all underclassmen, and they could all really have a case to go back. Talking about Dante Moore at Oregon, Ty Simpson at Alabama, Lenora Sellers, South Carolina. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. And then even with Fernando Mendoza, I think most expect him to take that jump to the NFL after this season, especially with his younger brother waiting in the wings to take over. But, we'll have to see how the season ends for Indiana. Is it, lifting the national championship trophy? Is it, do they win the Big Ten? Could it be put in a position where maybe Mendoza feels like there's unfinished business? We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But he is arguably the top draft eligible quarterback this year in a year where there's plenty of teams at the top of the draft. They're going to need a quarterback. Talking about the Browns, the Saints, the Jets. There's multiple teams that could be, really looking to jockey for position to get one of these quarterbacks. And if it's a 1 or 2 quarterback class, Mendoza's going to be awfully popular. And so it'll be interesting to see how these next few months play out.
And to stick with IU for a second here, Dane, again, we have Dane Brugler, the athletics draft guru here on our Payless Liquors hotline. And Dane, 2 of the receivers I think that have earned themselves some money this year, Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper Jr. So for those 2 players, how much do you think their stock has risen given the spotlight that's been on IU and the performances they've had against some of these opponents and to help this team remain undefeated this year?
Yeah, no doubt. Omar Cooper Jr. has been a lot of fun to watch because the ball skills are outstanding, and then his run after catch ability really stands out. So you want to line him up in the slot, line him up outside. He's a player that I think has put himself in the top 100 conversation. And then Elijah Surratt, he came in to this season as a 4th or 5th round pick. That's where the grades were from NFL teams. And he's only helped himself, 6'2", 210 pounds, probably going to run the 4.4 somewhere. He's so good with the chemistry with Mendoza on those back shoulder throws. The ball skills are there. He is more explosive than you think. Like he kind of looks like a possession receiver, but he has got more explosion than I think you expect going into the tape. And so he definitely has a basketball background, but he is an NFL athlete as well. And so love the story with him, kind of not a type of guy you want to bet against. And so I think those types of players just gravitate towards Coach Cignetti, and you really see that play out on game day. And so I'm selfishly hoping to see Ohio State get over the hump against Michigan, just so we make sure we get that Indiana-Ohio State matchup in the Big Ten championship game, just to see how these two teams will match up. Seeing Mendoza and these receivers up against a defense the caliber of Ohio State, and then a really good Indiana defense to see how they can hold up against a really explosive offense. Aiden Fisher, what he's done at linebacker, Mikhail Kamara, the defensive end for the Hoosiers. These guys are all draft picks. And so I think it's been 50 years since Indiana has had more than 4 draft picks in a single year. But I think the way that this season is going, that's going to happen this year, or it's going to happen in April.
Some call him Matthew, Luke, and John. Dane Brugler, the author of The Beast, is coming out here in the spring, and he is with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline as we take a little bit of a look ahead to that 2026 draft. Dane, I am a very unapologetic Notre Dame fan. Jeremiah Love, to me, is insane. I mean, it's some Reggie Bush vibes. I would add, from a draft standpoint, I think the attraction of his durability, of his 3-down ability, and of his blocking ability would also be something NFL teams covet. How high is, legit talk when you're talking about a running back in Jeremiah Love coming up in 2026?
Yeah, it's the same conversation, we had with Ashton Jeanty last year, or Bijan Robinson when he came out. I think it's you can't paint with a broad brush. Drafting a running back in the top 10, top 15, it doesn't make sense for every team. Some teams, in terms of their timeline of their roster, dropping a running back in doesn't really mesh with where they are as a team. And I think we're seeing that right now with the Raiders. The offensive line, the way things are, the passing game. Ashton Jeanty is a really good player, but he's kind of being wasted in that offense in Vegas. And so now is the opposite with Atlanta. You drop Bijan Robinson in there, and he's a top 3 back in the NFL. So with Jeremiah Love, there's no doubt he's one of the top 10 prospects in this draft. But figuring out exactly where he's going to land will be a little bit more interesting. He's so electric with the ball in his hand. He has that uncanny balance where he can stay afloat. He absorbs contact well. He's got a kind of linear frame, but he's so explosive. And I've been impressed. My one big knock on him coming into the year was just the lack of patience. He was a foot on the pedal, go, 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 and that helped him be productive. But there are times where he would run into his own blockers or not allow the blocking scheme to set up some of those holes. This year, he's doing a much better job of that. And so the production is there, especially the touchdown production. I mean, he's going to have almost or over 30 touchdowns the last 2 years alone. And I think you hit on it, the versatility. That's key, because you can line him up in the slot. You can keep him in the backfield, and he can pass protect. So you can just do so many things with a weapon like that. And so I think some teams are going to look at it. This isn't the strongest draft at the top, and they're going to look at Jeremiah Love as like, okay, this is the most explosive player in the draft. And even though we don't love the idea of drafting a running back in the top 10, we can hold our head high that we're coming away with the most explosive player in the draft, someone who's going to help our offense from day one. And, whether that's the New York Giants or, we'll see where the Cardinals are at. The Texans could use a player like this. So it'll be interesting with Love. The debate will rage on between now and April about how early you should draft a running back, but there's no doubt about it. Love is one of the top 10 prospects in this class.
Last one I got for you, Dane, and I'm looking at one of your latest big boards, and I want to say this was probably about a week ago. You have Caleb Downs, 3rd overall. And for those listening, he is the younger brother of Josh Downs, the Colts wide receiver who was taken in the 3rd round a couple years ago. How special of a safety is he? Because normally when I look at these lists, Dane, I'm not an expert by any means. I don't watch tape as much as you do by any means, but Safeties usually aren't ranked this high by you or anybody else. What makes him different?
He's so football smart, and you combine that with a really good athlete. The toughness is off the charts, and yeah, I mean he's the youngest in the family, and he's got an NFL dad. Obviously, I think Colts fans are familiar with the Downs family. I think that toughness was developed by growing up in that family, the athleticism. Growing up in Georgia, where it's very football rich, a lot of athletes. But he's been training for this for a long, long time. And I think that even Josh has kind of admitted in the past that Caleb was always the best athlete in the family. And he also has a little bit better size than Josh does. And with Caleb, it'll be, we just talked about it with running back and how early do you draft a running back. It'll be the same thing with safety and Caleb Downs. The NFL has told us they don't draft safeties very high, at least in the top 5, top 10. But Caleb Downs is, he's not an Ed Reed where you play him single high and he's going to play both sidelines, but he's more versatile where you can play him in the nickel, you can play him as a robber, you can play him in the post, you can do all these different things with him. He's so smart. He understands football geometry, but he also has the athleticism too. So I think at the end of the day, he won't go top 5, but I think maybe top 10. He has a really good chance to do that, and he'll be the first safety to be drafted that high in a decade. So that says a lot about him as an athlete and a player.
I had to hold back on the CJ Carr 2028 mock draft question for the Colts here. Maybe I'll save that for the combine when we bug Dane Brugler. Again, Dane, your stuff is second to none, man. We really appreciate the time and enjoy breaking down the film here as we get into the playoff season.
All right, I'll see you in Indy in a few months.
That is the great Dane Brugler right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. Rick Carlisle in 15. James Boyd says he's got some Colts numbers
yes,
to throw
I do.
our way. We'll do that next. And Mark will update us on the kicker poll. Michael Badgley or Matt Gay? Who do you want kicking for the Colts? It's time to call your ex. Rick Carlisle in 10 minutes as the Pacers got back late last night from Detroit. So bumping Rick back an hour here. They will try and get a much times a million needed win tomorrow night at home with the Hornets, who is a team well outside of the playoff picture right now. James Boyd, you have teased us with some Colts numbers.
Yes.
What do you got?
All right. So I'm going to just throw out a couple of them. One of them is 617. Give me a guess what you think that number relates to.
Tyler Warren's receiving yards.
Tyler Warren's receiving yards, which, by the way, great guess, Kevin, right off the bat, is more yards combined than the Colts tight end had all of last season together. He's already cleared that mark by himself.
Boy.
He has 617 receiving yards this year. Last year, the Colts tight ends combined have 467.
So he's going to double it.
Isn't that something?
That's got to be more than a lot of recent seasons with Colts tight ends, is it not?
It actually wasn't. The year before, in
Feels like they haven't done
2023, they had about like 800, which is still isn't that great for an entire group of tight ends. But that lets you know how much he has changed their fortunes at that position.
Yeah, I think we might be underrating what Warren has meant to this team.
I don't know if it's underrating. It's just that so many guys deserve some love, right?
Right. Yeah, that's probably the better way to put it. And I think we've done.
Because we have certainly given him his flowers.
Right. I mean, there's things that like I raise my hand when I don't feel like we've done enough of. You know, the Warren thing, I do think we've probably hyped up enough. But I mean, like simply, you lose the game in Germany without Warren. Like point blank. Period. The Colts tight ends are not making that 4th and 2 catch, and they're not making the catch then in overtime.
The other number I have for you. 22.7.
I thought you were going to give out your cell phone number and be like, hey, X, call me up.
No, I don't want to go that far. I've been thinking during the break, like, it wasn't always highlights. 22.7.
Is that points per game for the Colts?
Nope. They're in the 30s, actually. The 32.
22.7. I'm going to guess it's Pierce's yards per catch.
It is not. 22.7. He's averaging about 20 yards a catch. 22.7 is their blitz percentage this year, which ranks 15th in the league. Again, middle of the pack, not super high. But last year, that number was 17.5, and they were 30th. So Gus Bradley, his bend but don't break. We rarely blitz. That is not the case anymore. You're seeing a more aggressive Colts defense thanks to Lou Anarumo. And my question going forward, which I wrote in my story today, is how aggressive can you be moving forward with the addition of Charvarius Ward, but the subtraction of DeForest Buckner. But nevertheless, you don't have to worry, Colts fans, about your defense not being aggressive because they've proven at this point in the year that they can be aggressive at times. And I would argue that Lou Anarumo is more timely with his blitzes than other coordinators in the league because we saw it over there in Berlin. They didn't blitz a ton, but the timeliness was great because as we saw with Cam Bynum, he came on a blitz, got a strip sack. So the guy is cooking.
I think one thing we can get into maybe in the 9 o'clock hour, certainly more tomorrow, James, is, again, Lou Anarumo against Patrick Mahomes. You know, he's had this history against him where, you know, the mad scientists and all of that. There is kind of a common theme in the games that Anarumo's Bengals had success against Mahomes' Chiefs in. And it'll be interesting to see how much that applies to Sunday and just how much of a key ingredient that is to the Colts getting it done. That is the math wizard, James Boyd, throwing some numbers at us. Mark Dykton on the 1s and 2s. I'm Kevin Bowen. Hopefully Jeff back tomorrow. On the other side, it will be Pacers head coach Rick Carlisle joins us next. 9 o'clock here on a Tuesday. Rick Carlisle scheduled to join us. Obviously, the late travels back last night up there in Detroit. The Pacers will be back at home coming up tomorrow against Charlotte. Brandon Miller, right? Is he back yet? Or he's been banged up for a while, hasn't he?
I'm not so sure.
It was a shoulder injury, I think, for him.
It was.
They've had a couple rookies that have had to step up for them big time. So, again, the Pacers will be back at home tomorrow at Cleveland on Friday as they round out the week. Well, let's head to the Payless Liquors hotline right now. We appreciate his time. After a late one last night, he is the head coach of the Pacers. He is Rick Carlisle. Coach, good morning to you. How are you?
I'm okay.
Let's get to, I guess let's start with last night. Obviously, the return of Benedict Mathurin, probably a tale of two halves there. You know, both teams down some key personnel. Ultimately, what do you point to as kind of the hole being, you know, too big to dig out of despite Mathurin's efforts there in the third and fourth?
Yeah, you know, we've had struggles really on both sides of the ball. That said, you know, in looking at the stats and looking at the overall picture, we got to look for positives. Positives were, you know, we out-rebounded them for the game. Detroit's a great rebounding team. We ended up out-rebounding them by a couple. And then, you know, we won the second half by a point. And, you know, Ben's return and him getting into a rhythm, particularly in the fourth quarter, was a big part of that. And, you know, things are rough right now, but the guys had a good spirit last night. We didn't play well, but we hung together, and we got to keep doing that.
When you mention the struggles on both ends right now, do you see one side of the floor contributing more to the other's struggles? You know, is defense leading to the poor shooting numbers we see, vice versa? Has some of the poor shooting led to the defensive struggles, or do you think it's pretty balanced?
You know, it's probably a little more tipped one way than the other, but it's been both sides of the ball that's been tough. But look, there's a lot of excuses that can be made. We've got to ignore circumstance and just work at doing better.
Rick, you've talked about that a lot throughout your career, not making excuses, ignoring circumstances. So what is that balance like when the reality is, okay, we don't have our normal rotation of guys, but we still have games to play, and ultimately you want to win?
Yeah, it comes down to, you know, what your focus is. Our focus has got to be very much on what's happening right now and what's about to happen next when it comes to games. You know, in the Toronto game, one of the things that was, I thought, difficult about that game was we had a very good start. I mean, we were up 10 halfway through the first quarter, and then we allowed the lead to go away with some controllable things, unforced turnovers, some decisions that needed to be better, et cetera, et cetera. And you know, right now, you know, we're trying to get back on the winning side of things. A big part of being successful in the NBA is good starts and, you know, finding a way to win the first quarter. You know, the stats will tell you that the best way to win an NBA game is to be ahead going into the fourth quarter, and the best way to do that is to win the first quarter. The NBA is much more of a first quarter league than a fourth quarter league. I mean, the statistics just say that. So, look, starts got to be better. Overall play's got to be better. Defense has got to be tighter. Communication has got to be really good. And you know, then we got to get the ball in the hole.
Rick, to follow up, defensively, there's been some slippage there for your team, and often I've been there in the media where it's like, oh, they haven't tried hard enough. Where's the effort? And I feel like effort is always attributed to defense, but not offense. There are some tactical things. So what things do you look at defensively for your ball club to say, here's where we can be better to get stops here?
Well, the easy answer to that is transition defense. And we gave up a ton of transition points against Toronto. We made some adjustments for the Detroit game. We did better against Detroit. Well, look, your defense starts with the shot that you take, and your assault on the offensive boards, and it's very important that everybody is doing exactly what they're supposed to do. If you're supposed to crash, and if you're supposed to be back, be back. And so, we've tried to clean things up there, and then the first 3 steps back in transition. I think the stats will tell pretty much any NBA team that they're going to do better defensively when they're guarding a team in the half court rather than in transition. So, the huge chunk of points we gave up in the first 8 seconds against Toronto is an area where we're focusing heavily, and we got to do better.
It's the voice of Rick Carlisle. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Pacers Hornets back inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse coming up tomorrow night. Coach, some of the shooting numbers are pretty historic, obviously not in the positive light there. Do you feel like the quality of the looks has matched the poor shooting numbers?
At times we've had some very good looks that haven't gone down. And in most cases, we need to try to get better shots. And so, as you mentioned early on here, the effect that defense has on offense is very important, and vice versa. So, it's a tough stretch, and we just gotta work at improving and just simply be better.
One of the few guys that has been healthy for you here to start the season has been Jarace Walker. You use the word force quite often with him in our offseason conversations. In that department, I guess the force department, what have you seen from Jarace here this season?
Well, this is an amazing opportunity for him right now. The chance to, he's had a significant stretch of games that he started. When he hasn't started, sometimes it's been due to matchup or matchup stuff or whatever, but he gets in the game quickly and has a lot of leash, So what we need to see there is hard running, rebounding, defense, simple decisions on offense, and make the simple play. I think the Toronto game was a good example of, I think, what he's naturally good at is rebounding. I think he had 8 or 9 rebounds in the Toronto game. He's done some good things with attacking the paint, attacking space. We know he can pass the ball. We know he can shoot the ball. Right now when you're undermanned, everybody has more responsibility than they probably should. And as a coaching staff, our job is to try to alleviate that as best we can, make sure guys aren't trying too hard to do too much, and really focus on the simple things. And I think with Jarace, it starts with defending and rebounding, and it builds up from there.
Again, we have Rick Carlisle, Pacers head coach, joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Rick, going back to Benedict for a second here, we know how confident he is as a player and what he can do as a scorer. How much do you think his shot creation and just the ability to get his own look can help alleviate some pressure on other guys when it comes to helping the flow of the rest of your offense? Because if push comes to shove, that's someone who can still get you a pretty good look.
Well, we need him. I think that's pretty clear. And I mean, it's shot creation. It's the way that he stretches the floor with his ability to shoot long range. I've been very pleased with his shot selection in a lot of cases. I mean, he's spacing the floor better. He's finding the space on the floor to release the shots out of the shots that he's very good at. And we haven't seen him a whole lot this year. I mean, this is only the 3rd game he's played, but his awareness of the floor has got better. and he's passing the ball more effectively all the time. So, definitely need more scoring. Early in the year, the first couple of games, he was taking the hard matchups to start games. He was guarding SGA, and he was guarding some of the better players. And so, as he returns to play, we're going to need him to be a very good player, not only offensively but on the defensive side of the ball as well. And when he was drafted here, he talked about the fact that he wanted to be pushed to be great on both sides of the ball, and this is a great opportunity for him to help us, to help his teammates, and to really work at getting better.
Last one on Mathurin, and I have to appreciate his confidence no matter what. Reading a story from Dustin DePierre this morning in Indy Star, and Mathurin said, according to Dustin, why can't we win 10 games in a row? And when he says stuff like that, he's dead serious. So when you have someone who's as confident as Mathurin, how much does that help when times are hard and it has to be sort of this intrinsic motivation from players to go out there and play hard, even if things might look a little bleak? Because Mathurin doesn't care who it is. He's going to go out there and think he can probably win anything.
Well, I think I kind of just answered this question. We need him. We need him back, and we need him, and it's great to have him back. And the return to play stuff is is challenging too, because we don't take a guy that's been out for 3.5 weeks and throw him in there for 35 or 40 minutes. The great thing last night was that, and the way the game was going, all of a sudden he had 4 fouls in the third quarter, and I left him in because I thought it was important that he tried to get some kind of rhythm going. He hit a couple shots early in the fourth, as you guys saw, and did get it going. And then at one point he's playing pretty early in the fourth quarter, I think, with 5 fouls. And so anyway, right now we've got to focus on little things. We've got to look for positives, and a pretty significant positive is having him back.
Again, Pacers Hornets coming up tomorrow night. Just a couple of minutes left here with Rick Carlisle. We appreciate his time and flexibility here on this Tuesday morning. Coach, yesterday we played some Pascal Siakam audio. I believe it was after the game on Saturday night. And, I've been rather blown away by his leadership over the last few years. This year, I assume it's a different type of leadership, but I thought the words were pretty strong Saturday night in describing the start to this season. Specifically with Pascal, the numbers are obvious, but maybe what have you seen behind the scenes from a leadership standpoint this year?
Yeah, he's been great. You can't say enough about his approach, and he's been patient. He cares. I mean, there's certainly an element of frustration there, and you can sense that when he talks about how difficult it is to have this kind of a start. But yesterday, in our prep session in the morning and during the game, even when it was really difficult, he was staying very positive, very encouraging. And right now we have to work at being a very well-connected team, even though things are tough. And that can be a very difficult task. But he's a big part of our ability to continue to do that, even though things are tough.
Coach, I'll end with this. You mentioned a few weeks back, about your history in the league, and I think I asked you something along the lines of, have you ever dealt with this type of attrition, available bodies, et cetera, and you did reference the brawl, and you've mentioned how the NBA can be, such a humbling league. Have you ever, I guess, in your 30-plus years of coaching, been a part of something like this from whether it's an available bodies or just a general start to the season like you've had this year?
Probably not. Probably not. But with this kind of adversity comes opportunity. We got to find the opportunity. As I mentioned, we got to continue to find things to be positive about, and not kid ourselves about how deep we have to dig, to have successes. So. Tough stretch. Our fans have been great. They've given us great support. even though it's been difficult, and we're going to continue to have to lean on them and lean on each other.
Back in front of the home fans tomorrow night again, Pacers and Hornets, 7 o'clock tip inside of Gamebridge Fieldhouse. Coach, I know it was a long night, so we appreciate the time as always.
Okay, thanks, guys. Take care.
Rick Carlisle right there, Payless Liquors hotline. That last kind of quote for me, James, of the opportunity is there. We probably asked a good amount about Benedict Mathurin and Jarris Walker. I don't think it's fair to label them together. Just because they both were top 10 picks, Mathurin has done light years more in his NBA career.
Yeah, for sure.
Than Walker. But the truth is there. Aaron Nesmith's not coming back for about a month. So opportunity is there. And whether that's Mathurin in a contract year, or whether that's Walker showing he is a puzzle piece moving forward, despite his really poor start to the season, if you don't want to look at the record at all, just look at those two dudes. And what does it look like? How does it play out? I think that's where if we can't go team storylines, I just point to those two. And again, they're different stories. I want to be clear, but they're critical stories to what life with Tyrese Halliburton looks like coming up in 12 months.
Yeah, I've hammered that a lot this year, and I think all of us have, but even more since the losing sort of started, because if you're looking for some positives, some silver linings, it starts with the guys who ideally, when Halliburton is back, will be a part of your new core going forward. And on one hand, with Benedict Mathurin, I'd be very hesitant to move him at the trade deadline or move on from him or let him walk, whatever the case may be, because he is a very talented scorer, and I don't care what era we're in, what team you're on. In the sport of basketball, guys that put the ball through the hoop, which is the whole point of the game, are hard to come by at that rate. So I think he's done himself, even in just 3 games, enough to kind of give you some, okay, you guys better make sure I'm around when this thing gets rolling again with Halliburton. Whereas with Jarris, I'm just not sure what the identity of his game is. And that's as nice as I can put it. With Mathurin, even if my biggest knock on him is, he's only a scorer, so what? At least he does that at a pretty great rate. With Jarris Walker, I'm not looking at any parts of his game that I can say he does this great. And honestly, what I'm really asking for at this point is, what are you even doing just confidently? Whether it's shooting, driving, defending, rebounding, what are you doing that looks like you know what you're doing? Because when he's out there, and this isn't a knock on Jarris Walker and his talent, it looks like he has so much going on in his head, like, should I do this? Should I drive? Should I pull up?
Very hot potato-y.
Yeah, so I would like to see him be more confident in this stretch of the season.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Rick points to his rebounding, but yeah, it just, both ends, I struggle to find, like, calling cards.
That's a good, there is no calling card for his game right now.
Even when you wanted Alec Pierce to round out the tree, you knew specifically what the one trait he had. And again, some guys in the NBA get labeled as certain things, and you can make a lot of money with a label. Look at the guy last night coming off screens for the Pistons. You think he's made some good money for himself and Duncan Robinson? Some guys can get that. But as we talked about yesterday, and it probably was quite the poor analogy, so you two obviously had some audible reactions when I went Tiger Woods brothel with Benedict Mathurin there. But last night, you saw it, and I think Rick, that's the most I've heard from Rick with Mathurin, James, in the we need his scoring. Usually when it comes to Mathurin, Rick doesn't go there.
Yeah.
But, you hear him, and it's a little bit of, Santa, we need a scoring, buddy. We need it. That's what we need. And last night, if you watched the game, you certainly saw it. So, again, Pacers Hornets coming up tomorrow. We do appreciate that. And, Nick, thank you for this. Nick reaching out here. Coach Carlisle's the best. The team sucks this year, but he's honest about it. And I would agree with that. So, we do appreciate his time amidst what has been a very, very trying season here. All right, Mark Dykton, let's go ahead and check it down. All right, James Boyd, let's cover a little bit of Colts injury news. Let me throw 3 names at you, and you provide the snippet for us if you don't mind. Charvarius Ward, your expectation is what for this week?
He will be practicing and playing Sunday in Kansas City.
DeForest Buckner, clarity is still lacking. Is that fair to say?
Yes. At this point, I'm like, will he be back this year is my question.
Okay, and then Anthony Richardson Sr., he also, like Javarius Ward, is eligible to practice tomorrow.
And again, like DeForest Buckner, I'm asking myself, will he be back this year?
Again, Colts back to practice tomorrow. They are a 3-point underdog. This will be Nance and Romo. Chiefs-Colts, 1 o'clock on Sunday. That will be the broadcast crew for that one. They did do Colts-Chiefs back in 2023, and yes, the wildest Patrick Mahomes stat of all, the only team he has yet to beat in the regular season of his NFL career, that would be the Indianapolis Colts. Can you guys name the 2 quarterbacks that beat Patrick Mahomes in a Colts uniform?
Matt Ryan was one of them.
Gardner Minshew.
Matt Ryan. Gardner Minshew's Mahomes' backup right now, isn't he?
Uh-huh.
It is not Gardner Minshew.
Was it Carson Wentz?
Not Carson Wentz.
I'm not sure.
Brissett.
Jacoby and Matt Ryan.
Those are some names.
Now, how about that for some...
It's another stat you bring to the Thanksgiving table next week.
Uncle Tad's going to think, boy, they got a smart little nephew right here in Mark Dykton.
Mm-hmm. Give me a pat on the head. Slip me $1.
Hey, will you go, give me a second slice of pumpkin pie here. Last night, Monday Night Football, it was the Cowboys all over the Raiders there. Dak Prescott, 4 touchdowns. George Pickens showing once again he is very talented and probably equally as frustrating, as well as him and CeeDee Lamb had to sit out that opening series there. Texans and Bills coming up Thursday Night Football. That is a big one for the Colts as it is in relation to the Houston Texans. The great Evan Sherrill from Cluster Truck is in the building here. Evan, CT fan, CT-fan? CT fan, that is $5 off your order of 25 or more, and I could not endorse this more, the tailgate special. We got a Colts home game coming up next Sunday, but I don't care. If you got a gathering for Colts Chiefs this weekend, $29.99, you're getting 2 large pizzas and 2 pounds of chicken tenders. Absolutely excellent. And it's great with kids. I cannot endorse that as well. The chicken tenders, Mark Dykton, my crew loves it.
My kids too.
They love it as well. Chirp,
all
chirp.
The dipping sauce options, loved it.
Chirp, chirp. I know it was a tough one over the weekend for Coach U and company, but
shout out Evan Sherrill, best smelling human being ever.
He does, man. He does. He does. And the only other thing that smells as beautifully as that is Jeff's beef and broccoli. So hopefully Jeff will be back coming up tomorrow. Only other items I've got here around the NFL, unfortunately, news that I don't love, and that is a season-ending injury to some local guys. Juju Brents, a foot injury. Michael Penix Jr., a knee injury. And James, I think it's also worth pointing out with both those guys, I get they were drafted differently. Juju, of course, not by that team, but those are 2 coaches squarely on the hot seat. So, Penix it probably applies to more. Granted, he was a top 10 pick, but just curious what his future will be there in Atlanta if Raheem Morris is let go.
That's a great question, and a lot of it has to do with just the health of Michael Penix. Because ultimately, you can't tie your future to a guy who's going to go undergo his 3rd major knee surgery, I would think. Because, he's had 2 previous ACL tears. Now, I don't know if it's the same knee, but regardless, we know this sport is very brutal on your body, and to already be, 26? You can't tie your future to that. So things are very in flux, I would think, in Atlanta.
From another local tie news item standpoint in the NFL, Matt Gay was cut yesterday by the Washington Commanders. It's pretty much been the same season as he had last year here. He's, for the most part, made everything inside of 50 yards, but he was 4 of 9 from north of 50, missed 2 of them in Madrid on Sunday for the Commanders. Our poll earlier in the show, who do you want kicking for the Colts moving forward? Michael Badgley or Matt Gay? Mark Dykton, are the Colts calling their ex?
Not according to what fans want. 65% say no.
I'm a little surprised it's that close, though.
You think that's close?
65 to 35 is not that crazy. I thought it was going to be 80-20. People hated Matt Gay because of how much money he made.
You threw it out there, and you're like, oh, it's not so bad. I'm like, you didn't have to field the calls. I was on the other end getting it.
I was in the field.
I was answering the phone, and you would have thought I was Matt Gay at times.
Both guys are missing north of 50 yarders. Matt Gay makes extra points.
Been there, done that.
Do you not want to make extra points?
I would like to make extra points, but there's also more kickers than just Matt Gay that can do that.
Justin Tucker?
Well, I wouldn't go down that road. That sounds like a PR nightmare. I don't think the Irsay daughters are doing that.
Yeah, I would agree. on that.
That would certainly be a PR nightmare. And a lot of work for your boy, so I'll veto that one.
Tonight, college football playoff poll, 8:30. It'll be announced. You've got the Champions Classic sandwiching that tonight on ESPN. I believe it's Michigan State, Kentucky, the first game, and then Kansas, Duke, the second game. James Boyd, cue the NBA draft music, right, for that second game, Kansas and Duke.
Yes. Mark, if you have the sound, get it ready.
Sure.
You got Cameron Boozer and you got Darren Peterson, too.
And Peterson a little banged up. I think watch that. I think a hamstring injury, if I'm not mistaken, for him. But, yeah, Boozer went off, I saw, against Indiana State here last week.
Yes, he certainly looked like someone who will not be playing college basketball for very long.
All right, on the other side, we've got some Fernando Mendoza Heisman hype. We'll hit on that and much more to get to here, as it is the Fan Morning Show on a Tuesday. Rick Carlisle, that'll be up on the podcast. We appreciate him joining us after a late one here last night. This time tomorrow, we'll be chatting with Nate Taylor. Covers the Chiefs, used to cover the Pacers for the Indianapolis Star.
I'll get that uploaded when I can. If you've been online today, Twitter's down. Our podcast company is down. So it might be a little bit.
Cloudflare seems to be
I don't
the
know what
issue
that
here.
is. I've never heard of it, but it's causing issues all over. And so we'll get the podcast up when we can, but it might be a little bit.
Yeah, seems to be quite the issue here from a internet standpoint on this Tuesday morning. But we'll have Nate join us here coming up tomorrow to talk Colts and Chiefs. Aaron points out here in the chat, you think back to those Colts wins over Kansas City, Jacoby Brissett in 2019. That was a Sunday night football game. Marlon Mack was outstanding in that game. Colts ran for 180. And then 2023, that was Matt Ryan beating them. That was not necessarily a Colts run and keep the ball away from Mahomes and company in that one as much there, but really Kansas City just had several drives that didn't end in points, and I know that sounds very simplistic.
Slim Pickens? Is that what you're trying to say? Simplistic?
Boy.
Thank you. Gosh, you can tell it was a rough night of sleep.
All
here
right, Nelly. When you need
We
to learn
have Matt
English,
Ryan.
holler at your boy.
At the Bowen household here.
Kevin needs a nap.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, that's fair.
I know what you're trying to say.
After James Boyd takes a shot with that, I want to respond with, James, you want to come over and be in the Bowen household here for the next couple nights here?
You know he's got the Similac ready. He's ready to roll.
The Chiefs outgained him by 60, actually, in that 2023 game. All 4 second-half drives got to Colts territory, but only 3 points. So, Romo, he goes nuts over all Colts, Chiefs, or I should say all Chiefs games, but he is right in the holding them to 3, those sorts of drives. You saw Mahomes throw a huge pick in the red zone last week. That was a fatal play that, in a 3-point game. That's the difference there. So, storylines for you, James, as you look ahead to Sunday?
One, the return of Travaris Ward. How does he look against his former team if he's out there, and how much does that enhance your defense? Like we talked about, you really hammered this, Kevin. Does the return of Travaris Ward to a degree offset the absence of DeForest Buckner, which I don't think is a one-for-one trade at all. I think that the loss of DeForest Buckner is even bigger than return of Travaris Ward. But if you got to pick one or the other, or you can't pick both, you would still welcome Mooney Ward back with open arms for sure. So that's one. The other one, Kevin, from the Colts offensive perspective is, can your offensive line be more formidable than it's been in the past couple of games? Because we've seen Daniel Jones be under siege a little bit. Granted, maybe he's held onto the ball a little bit longer than he needs to on some of those plays, but it's not all on him. Just like it's not all on the offensive line, but there is something there that hasn't worked like it did early in the year. Can you get back to that level of, okay, instead of him getting sacked 5 times, 7 times, whatever the case may be, it's 1 or 2, and you're able to kind of sustain your drives better and ultimately get points.
When we talk to Nate Taylor tomorrow, covers the Chiefs, I'll be curious, when the last time the DEFCON meter has been this high in his coverage of Kansas City. I would guess quite a while. One thing Andy Reid did kind of admit to yesterday is at times, and again, we get in this debate with Shane Steichen quite often, the balance of play calling. And the RPO game has, kind of confused some things of maybe the numbers indicate that it's an RPO, but you don't run it as much as people would like for you to run the football. And Andy Reid said, I probably should call a few more of the kind of hard runs is what he labeled them as. And again, that's a debate we've had a lot with Jonathan Taylor and Shane Steichen of, it seemed like at times Denver, granted their defense is a different animal, but they were giving Kansas City numbers that indicated pass, believing that their pass rush was, going to win, and quite often they did. Can the Colts offer that same recipe without DeForest Buckner? Now, granted, you've got reinforcements in the secondary that should put you atop, really any other secondary in the league. So I think that'll be something also to keep an eye on as well. I still can't believe this Tony East stat from last night. The Colts have gone the Pacers have gone 21 straight quarters without winning it.
Yeah.
They won the fourth quarter last night in that game. They lost the first, second, and third, and they had lost the previous 21 quarters before that fourth quarter. That's got to be a record.
For all the wrong reasons.
For all the wrong
I
reasons.
kind of had to chuckle a little bit under my breath when you were talking to Rick, and you go, yeah, shooting historically not in the most positive light. I'm like, yeah, it's historically bad.
Yeah, I mean, their numbers right now, shooting-wise, are historically bad, exactly. Again, they've lost 6 straight by at least 15 points. That is a franchise record. I think it is nearing an NBA record. Now, tomorrow night against Charlotte, with Brandon Miller's injury situation, I do think LaMelo Ball is playing for them. But, that's an opportunity that you definitely have a chance to more than compete and win the game. Then you have Washington upcoming too. I mean, that's one that, again, if you look at the standings, you got to get that win. So this Pacers playback presented by C&J Water, the official water treatment partner of the Indiana Pacers, cnjwater.com. Did you guys watch the Fernando Mendoza Heisman video that Indiana released yesterday?
Yes, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice way to use his name sort of for the campaign, and it kind of fit with, I guess, who he kind of is, too. It wasn't I thought it was kind of like a little nerdy, a little fun in a way, so I enjoyed it.
Yeah, they went with the Google LinkedIn theme.
Yeah.
Basically, they sprinkled in Mendoza football highlights, of course, with his, passions off the field. And by any account, he says he loves LinkedIn, and he has raised, him and his brother have raised a lot of money for MS. Which is something that their mom is dealing with, just a horrific disease. So, that is something that they have done, been pretty outspoken about there. His brother is the backup quarterback for Indiana, for those that have not totally followed. He did say Tom Brady was his football idol, so that's probably about the only thing that's going to knock him here in the state of Indiana. But just so much joy, so much pure. And hearing him talk about his mom, I thought was really, really cool. You can tell that his family, specifically his mother, means a ton to him. And boy, he's just wired. It almost seems like he's a robot with all the comments he makes. It's like, this dude has never made a mistake in his life outside of an occasional interception.
Not a bad life to be living.
Where does LinkedIn rank for you guys? Do you go on it regularly? There's people I see that I don't get it, but I'll get notifications oh, anniversary. I'm like, I don't check LinkedIn.
Yeah, see, we don't work real jobs. This isn't a real job.
Yeah.
So, I think if we got fired and we had to work a real job, then we'd be more plugged into LinkedIn.
I play that Ellie De La Cruz line that Jeff dropped. I might be having to update my LinkedIn if I keep doing it.
Well, I usually will do, and I've done this for years, where it's I'll post the story to Twitter, copy, paste to Facebook, so all my mom's friends can see that I'm alive and well, copy, paste to LinkedIn, so I look kind of professional. But even then, my profile picture on Twitter, which is me on a hockey sled, is the same one I put on LinkedIn, because I was like, you know what? Me and just the tie and all that, that's fake James. I got to be real. So the LinkedIn is on there, and I probably have a bunch of notifications I haven't checked. And it to me, it's the worst of the social media apps, because whenever I do get on there and I scroll for a little bit, it never fails that there's somebody who's posting some long thing about work-life balance, or how to get extra money, or how to prioritize certain things, and it is the fakest thing I've ever read in my life. And I'm just like, you know what? No, I don't want to subject myself to this.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those. Again, I'd say it in all seriousness. I feel like if we
I went to work today and I was tired, but I got a coffee, and I had an epiphany in that moment that, you know what? If you just keep pushing, you can elevate your career. Here's 5 steps on how to change your life. And it's I don't want to see this garbage.
Yeah, I think some people that have, again, real jobs, they do spend more time on it than us. I mean, it's just an easier way to network, and it is probably transitioned a little bit more into that. I think I posted a Rick Carlisle clip a few weeks ago, because I don't know about you guys, but I would say the thing that people are most curious about with our show, or when I see people in public, they do ask about the Carlisle interviews. I would say that's the most popular thing people ask about. And so I feel like that audience, Rick has a name here that's been alive in this market for 2 decades. And so for older people out there, which, I guess there are some people on LinkedIn that, might be a little bit older, they probably are like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that show has Rick Carlisle on. Maybe I should click on it. So I don't know.
No, the best content I've seen on LinkedIn recently was Kevin Bowen in a bacon costume. That's what I want to see on LinkedIn. That's real.
I got to wear my turkey hat next week, Mark. So we have a show next Wednesday, is that right? But not next Friday?
Correct.
Or next Thursday. Do we have one next Thursday?
Well,
No.
Duh.
Hell
I was about
no.
to say, hold on. Now you skipped to.
I'm not showing
I
up
was
for
about to say
that.
he skipped to
I can tell you
Friday, and I was
right
like,
now.
wait a second, I got to be able to get me a meal.
I thought Thursday was the given. So Monday,
Yeah,
Tuesday,
yeah,
Wednesday.
yeah,
If you wanna-
yeah.
if you
You'll be
wanna
giving some
come
free
in,
meals
brother.
out. Yeah.
You go right ahead. The key card will work.
How do we do the breakdown for food? Is this like you're going somewhere else? Does the wife cook? And your wife probably not cooking. Just cook the baby, but
She definitely cooked the baby. Yeah, about 9 months of it there. Yeah, we're fortunate to have family in town, so we'll head to. Actually, we'll do my family's Thanksgiving this Saturday,
Nice.
and then do my in-laws coming up next
Yep.
week. I assume you two traveling across the border.
Yep, going to my parents' house and my sister-in-law's house in Cedar Lake.
Yeah, I'll probably be going to my grandma/aunt's house. They live together, and my aunt is a sous chef, and she's been a sous chef for 30 years, so she can throw down when
Boom.
it comes this time of the year.
Boom.
I'll say this: I feel like the Colts have had a home game every single Thanksgiving Sunday. I swear it's like a guaranteed Colts home game,
I'll take it.
which means Lucas Oil Stadium is very busy because
This
that
is
is
true.
a state final Friday,
Yeah.
state final Saturday into Lucas Oil Stadium on a Sunday. All right, let's do it one final time here. This is the Fan Morning Show here on a Tuesday. Well, thanks for spending this Tuesday with us, Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dykton. Hopefully we'll have Jeff back in the saddle with us tomorrow. Really enjoyed the Dane Brugler convo earlier, NFL draft analyst. I believe he gave a label of a top 100 pick for Omar Cooper Jr. That's a guy that I think will have a nice NFL career. I think there is some elite athleticism, yard after catch ability to his game. And, I've said this before about Elijah Surratt, James. I get some Michael Pittman Jr. vibes to him. Might not be like the freakish testing at. Like Cooper will probably test better than Surratt, I guess, to kind of compare the two. But you just throw the ball to Surratt and 50-50 becomes 70-30, 80-20.
Yeah.
And it's hard to explain why, but there's just a strong moment of truth aspect to his game. Puka Nacua has that quite well. Puka didn't test well and was drafted in the 4th round, 5th round, wherever he was. And some guys have that aspect to it, and it makes up for maybe not the combine traits that NFL guys salivate over.
Yeah, I think one of the best compliments you can get is just you're a dude. And I think that's what Puka is. We had this conversation, I believe, it might have been with Shane Steichen a few weeks ago before they played the Chargers. And, what makes him different, it's toughness, it's grit, it's the ability to just do things on the football field that matter more than running straight for a 40-yard dash, which you probably never see in the NFL anyway. So I don't want to dismiss the testing at all because a lot of that does help with, how you translate to the NFL. But that's a dude that Dane, like he said, you don't want to bet against. And that's a good moniker or not moniker is not the right word, but like good label to have on your game, on your reputation going from one level to the next.
Yeah, BK throws in here Mike Evans. Yeah, that is a nice comp as well. Obviously, super high praise. Mike Evans, in my opinion, is a future Hall of Famer. That is good. We get Bucks Rams, by the way. Is that on the slate this week, Mark?
I gotta check and see. Otherwise,
Bucks Rams, I believe, yes.
I think we lack
a Sunday nighter.
Lot of great games this week, but boy, that's quite the back-to-back for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
Josh Allen 1 week and Matthew Stafford the next. I would assume, is Stafford our MVP favorite right now? He is on a unbelievable run.
It might be Drake May.
Is it still Drake May?
Because of the record, but yeah, he's on a heater, and I think that
it really started with that Colts game.
Yeah, it did, honestly. But if you look at the 3 leaders, it has to be the 2 quarterbacks and JT, I would think. But looking at, again, the numbers, Jonathan Taylor's on pace for 29 touchdowns this year.
Matt Stafford is currently the favorite for MVP at plus 135. Drake May, plus 175. Josh Allen, plus 450. Jonathan Taylor, plus 900.
Boy, maybe this is a quarterback award. Lord.
Yeah, the other guys.
I get that Josh Allen scored 6 total touchdowns, though.
After Jonathan Taylor, it's Mahomes, Hurts, Goff, Darnold, Nix, Jordan Love, Daniel Jones. I mean, I'm scrolling.
Quarterback.
The next non-quarterback is Jackson Smith and Jigba at plus 10,000.
And, I struggle with this at times with quarterback. And look, it's the most important position in sports. But, let's look at Fernando Mendoza for a second. Obviously, he has been exceptional in so many areas this year.
Yes.
What is part of Mendoza's big Heisman candidacy right now? What would you guys say is a big part of his appeal, or, when they show the resume? I mean, you watched the highlight film yesterday. What do they show?
I mean, they show him
the final drive against Penn State.
Yes.
The final drive against Oregon. The final drive against Iowa.
Yeah, clutch, basically. He's got the clutch gene.
What came before all those drives?
Interceptions.
Mendoza interception. Mendoza interception. Mendoza interception. Quarterbacks get that opportunity to where they can have their own screw up, but that then sets the stage for the dramatic moment.
Yeah, I had my Heisman moment out there in Oregon.
So that's where I'm always I feel bad for these running backs. I feel bad for some of these other positions that can't self-create that in a way, if that makes sense. Of yeah, I mean, these are unbelievable final drives, but maybe you don't get that if you just don't throw the pick.
That's true. That is true. And
but maybe that's just life of quarterback.
Yeah, it's definitely biased.
And it's going to come down to whenever the Big Ten Championship is, a couple Saturdays from now, Julian Sayin or Fernando Mendoza. I think the winner of that game will not only win the Big Ten Championship, but will win the Heisman.
I can agree with that. And I think the same can kind of be said in an NFL perspective with quarterback play. And that's why when I look at Jonathan Taylor, I think the total touchdowns he gets will be the best indicator if he'll have a chance to win MVP.
You got to have the Patriots lose. You got to have the Rams lose. You
I know. But if he gets to 30 touchdowns,
I know.
Second running back ever to do that.
It's running backs, though, man.
That's the greatest case you can build.
Yeah, people just look at him sideways. Thank you to Rick Carlisle. Thank you to Dane Brugler. Those will be up on the podcast. We will talk to you coming up